Naruto Reborn Wind Shadow. Attack the Country of Fire in the beginning chapter 101–120. Mist Village. Rasa, sitting in the position of Kazekage, looked curious. In fact, not only Rasa, but even the Anbu of the Sand Village were a little surprised when they saw this leader of the Mist Village's 7 ninja swordsmen appear before them. They originally thought the other party was here to cause trouble and almost started a fight, but who knew the other party would say they were acting on behalf of the Mizukage and wanted to meet with the Kazekage. After reporting to Maki immediately sent someone to inform Rasa. I remember that the Mist Village and our Sand Village should have communication channels from the Anbu, right? It's like an unspoken rule. Although the major countries often fight to the death, they all secretly maintain certain communication bridges. For this Mist Village ninja to come knocking on their door without prior notice, a careless move could trigger a conflict between the two countries. Kikuzen Fuguki grinned, revealing his shark-like teeth, took out a scroll, and said very calmly. Because this time, I bring with me a personal message from the Mizukage-sama. Rasa seemed to understand something and gave Maki a look. Maki immediately walked over, took the scroll, checked it to make sure there were no problems, and then handed it to Rasa. Rasa opened it and saw that the contents of the scroll were not surprising. It roughly stated that the third Mizukage congratulated Rasa on becoming the fourth Kazekage and expressed admiration for Rasa's 2 victories over Konoha. It must be said that this congratulation was a bit late. Rasa had been the Kazekage for half a year already. Maki, arrange for this Mist Village ninja to rest in the village for a day. I will give him a reply tomorrow. Understood. Kikuzen Fuguki nodded without resistance. After the two left, not long after, Yekura and Mikawa also received the news and rushed over. Mikawa was still calm, but Yekura directly asked. I heard that someone from the Mist Village came to the village. From this, it can also be seen that the internal affairs of the Anbu are not so airtight. This is why Rasa wants to reorganize the covert ops unit. Some information can be leaked, but some absolutely cannot. Yes. He handed the scroll in his hand to the two of them. The two took it and looked at it. Mikawa seemed to understand something, while Yekura frowned and asked. What does this mean? Mikawa answered. I heard that this Mizukage's situation in the Mist Village is not very good. Now it seems that this is true. He has actually reached the point of wanting to borrow external force. Yekura was not a fool. She immediately realized what was going on. Rasa also said, in any case, a divided Mist Village is also a good thing for our Sand Village, isn't it? Mikawa nodded, while Yekura curiously asked. Then how are you going to reply? Are you planning to cooperate with this Mizukage? A normal reply will do. As for cooperation, let the Mizukage sort out his own village first. If he can't even trust the Anbu around him and can only have the 7 ninja swordsmen deliver messages personally, what's the use even if I agree to cooperate? After saying these words, Rasa directly said to Shinga, who was beside him. Shinga, you can write a polite reply in my name. For Shinga, a former queen, this kind of thing was very simple. Okay. After dealing with this matter, Rasa then asked the two of them. What is the situation at the front line now? Mikawa answered. It's just like that, it's currently very stable. Although Konoha has withdrawn a batch of ninjas, most of them are weak. They don't dare to enter the Land of Rivers anymore, they are just guarding the border of the Land of Fire. According to the plan you made, Kazekage, we have set up 3 lines of defense. The first line of defense is on the border between the Land of Rivers and the Land of Fire. The second line of defense is within the Land of Rivers, and the third line of defense is within the Land of Wind, which is our rear. Yes. How are Cloud and Rock's reactions? Have they issued tasks to our Sand Village according to the agreed cooperation? Yekura let out a disdainful chuckle and said. HMPH, because we defeated Konoha in the Land of Rivers, Cloud and Rock felt that they didn't need us anymore, so they didn't give us a single task at the beginning. But now, their attacks have suffered setbacks, and they have remembered us again. In my opinion, there is no need to pay attention to them at all now. Recently, many people have come to our village to issue tasks. We don't need tasks from Cloud and Rock at all. Mikawa shook his head. That's still different. Most of the tasks issued by Cloud and Rock are A rank or higher, while these merchants' tasks are at most B-rank escort missions. Yakura was just venting her dissatisfaction. She didn't really look down on the tasks given by Rock and Cloud. After listening, Rasa also made a summary and said, "Let's just continue with the current stable progress. Our sand village needs time. With the current development speed of the village, as long as we have 5 or 6 years, I won't have any worries even if we face Konoha alone." Okay. The two of them have seen the changes in the village this month and are very much looking forward to them. Seeing this, Rasa then asked about another matter. How is the 8 Gates formation training going? Are there any problems? Hearing this, Yakura and Mikawa reacted differently. Mikawa frowned and said, "The 8 Gates formation is indeed a forbidden technique of Konoha. Training it is more troublesome than imagined. I can only open the second gate, the Gate of Rest, so far. However, the improvement it brings is indeed incredible. I feel that I have become more than twice as strong." Yakura, upon hearing this, looked proudly like a peacock and said, "Only 2 gates. I can already open the 5th gate, the Gate of Closing." As soon as these words came out, not only Mikawa but even Rasa was surprised. Seeing this, Yakura looked even more smugly at Mikawa and said, "I have found a trick to training the 8 Gates formation." Now both of them were curious. What trick? Have you forgotten the star release chakra, the power that activates the body? It can quickly heal the damage caused during the 8 Gates formation training. I have used this to develop a stronger Scorch Release Chakra mode, which I call Super Scorch Release Chakra mode. Mikawa suddenly understood. He had never thought that he could use Star Release Chakra to train the 8 Gates formation. However, Rasa frowned and said very seriously, "That's too reckless. I should have told you that Star Release Chakra uses overdrafting potential as a source of power. You are being irresponsible to yourself like this." Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Rasa's sudden scolding stunned the originally smug Yakura. She subconsciously wanted to refute, but Rasa's next action prevented her from saying a word. Rasa directly got up from the chair, walked to her, and said, "Give me your hand." Although Yakura was stunned, she still subconsciously stretched out her hand. Instantly, she felt Rasa's big hand hold her small hand, and a warm power she had never felt before merged into her body, making her feel comfortable all over. She even almost couldn't help but make a strange sound, but fortunately, she controlled herself. As expected, feeling the cells in Yakura's body greedily absorbing his sage art energy, Rasa understood that Yakura's exploitation of her body's potential had already begun to damage her body. "From today onwards, in the name of the Kazekage, I order you to prohibit the use of Star Release Chakra and the training of the 8 Gates formation." Yakura did not refute Rasa's order, but asked somewhat blankly, "Are you worried about me?" Rasa rolled his eyes. Otherwise, inside the Kazecage's office, looking at Rasa, who had returned to his chair, and Yakura, who was sitting there blankly with slightly flushed cheeks, the other 2 people present had strange expressions. Not to mention Shinga, as a woman, she could clearly feel the ambiguous atmosphere in the air at this moment. She made up her mind that she must remind her good girlfriend when she had the opportunity. As for Mikawa, although he was an old man, looking at Yakura's blank appearance, he could also feel that something was wrong. However, the Kazekage has a wife. Things seemed to be getting complicated. As for Rasa, he was sitting in his chair at this time, tapping the table with his fingers, thought for a while, and then raised his head and said, "In this way, let's stop the practice of the 8 inner gates first, and don't use the star release chakra for the time being in a short period of time." Rasa's words brought the atmosphere in the entire room back to normal. "Kazekage, what do you mean?" Looking at Yakura, who had a strange expression, Mikawa decisively spoke. "Although the power of star release chakra is useful, it is still more harmful than good compared to Dragon Vein Chakra, Sage Art Energy. Although I have not yet mastered a way to let you also have Dragon Vein Chakra, perhaps there is a clever way. However, this will have to wait until I return to the village." Yakura suddenly came back to her senses and asked, "You are leaving the village?" "Yes. News came from the Anbu that they may have discovered an island where many giant creatures live. I want to go and see if those creatures can become summoning beasts.
If they can, perhaps our Sunagaker can also have a large number of powerful summoning beasts.
Yekura and Mikawa were both surprised. But, shouldn't the Anbu confirm this kind of thing first? Yekura said with some worry. No, if this kind of place really exists, it must be grasped in the hands of our Sunagakure as soon as possible. Otherwise, if it leaks out and attracts other villages to snatch it, it will be troublesome. Therefore, it is better for me to take action personally.
Do you need us to accompany you? Yekura frowned and asked.
Rasa shook his head and sighed slightly. No need, I can just take the Anbu with me. There are still too few ninjas in the village who can stand alone. In order to prevent any accidents, I need you to stay in the village and respond to emergencies. Time passed quickly. 3 days later, country of wind, above the vast desert.
A huge caravan with countless camels was slowly moving forward in the desert.
They were the caravan that left Sunagakure this time and prepared to return to the land of the sea. Because the goods transported this time were sold to Sunagakure and made a fortune, earning a lot of gold, they unprecedentedly spent a lot of money to issue a sea-level mission in Sunagakure to ***** them to the land of the sea. I just didn't expect that a surprise would hit them on the head. Sunagakure upgraded their mission level to B level for free, and also sent a luxurious guard team composed of 1 Jonin and 2 Chunin. The only requirement was that they take this Jonin to the legendary Island of Forgetfulness once. Of course they wouldn't refuse, after all, although the sea area where the Island of Forgetfulness is located is dangerous. The ninjas of Sunagakure also said that they don't need them to take them there in person, they can find reliable sailors.
However, although they did make a fortune this time, the hot and dry weather in the land of wind still made these merchants from humid areas such as the land of the sea a little unbearable. They would rest for a while almost every time they didn't go far. Mr. Rasa, would you like some water? On the desert where the camels were encircling, Kawamatsu, the captain of the land of the sea caravan this time, took out a bottle of water and handed it to Rasa and asked. After spending the day together, Kawamatsu also saw that these ninjas didn't seem as scary as he imagined. Especially this Jonin from Sunagakure named Rasa, he seemed easy to get along with. On the contrary, the 2 Chunin beside him said a little less. However, they were also very polite. Thank you. Rasa took the water, but did not drink it directly, but asked. Mr. Kawamatsu, why do you have to go to the west of the land of wind instead of taking the near route? I remember there doesn't seem to be any large port cities over there. The so-called west of the land of wind is the section of the land of wind that borders the sea. Normally, all merchants would take the east side of the land of wind, which borders the land of rivers and faces the land of fire. Kawamatsu said somewhat helplessly. Mr. Rasa, you don't know, we also want to go to the port in the east, but aren't we at war now? On the one hand, our goods are easily hijacked by the land of fire, and on the other hand, there are more pirates at sea over there. Pirates. This was the first time Rasa had heard of the profession of pirates in the world of Naruto, and he became interested all of a sudden. Yes, our land of the sea mainly consists of 4 islands, namely the main island, Taro Island, Jiro Island, and Strange Island. Surrounding our 4 islands of the land of the sea, there are also many small islands. Because of the inconvenience of transportation, this place has become a hiding place for many dangerous people. Most of them choose to become pirates and rely on plundering for a living. In addition to this. Speaking of this, Kawamatsu hesitated a little, but after thinking about it, he still said. I heard that many ninjas from Kirigakure in the land of water also secretly plunder passing caravans in the guise of pirates. I see, don't worry, Mr. Kawamatsu, even if we encounter ninjas from Kirigakure, we can protect you. Ha ha ha, then I can rest assured. Now there are not many places as safe as the land of wind where we can make a lot of money. By the way, Mr. Rasa, you want to go to the island of forgetfulness, right? Yes, I just don't know if it's on the way. It's on the way, but we won't go to that sea area, but please rest assured that when we get to the port, we will find you a sailor and a boat willing to go there, but you will have to pay for this yourself. Of course. Everyone was talking and laughing. Sitting behind Rasa, the 2 Jonin of the covert ops unit, Reiken and Fujin, were also a little surprised to see the Kazekage-sama talking so happily with these merchants.
In their perception, the Kazekage-sama was relatively dignified, but they didn't expect that he would also have such an approachable side. Of course, those who accompanied the Kazekage-sama this time were not only the two of them, but also Sayaka and Saryu were hiding in the dark.
In this way, although the speed of the caravan was not fast, 3 days later, they still arrived at the edge of the Land of Wind.
There was no longer a desert here, but instead, there were green forests and an endless sea.
A small port stood here, surrounded by countless wooden boats, and stevedores and sailors were busy on the shore.
As soon as they arrived at the port, Mr. Kawamatsu enthusiastically led Rosha and the others to find a sailor and a boat.
As a regular here, he quickly found a sailor willing to take them to the Isle of Forgetfulness.
This was a man with very dark skin, named Otsu. According to his own account, he had once entered the sea area where the Isle of Forgetfulness was located.
He wasn't so willing at first, because the Isle of Forgetfulness was too dangerous.
However, after hearing that Rosha and the others were ninjas and offering a generous reward, he changed his mind. In Otsu's words, with ninja protection, the Isle of Forgetfulness didn't seem so dangerous after all. However, with a sailor, they still needed a boat.
At Otsu's recommendation, Rosha and the others generously bought a boat directly. At this point, Shang and Shalizard no longer needed to hide. They boarded the Sand Village's boat directly as ninjas.
So, led by Mr. Kawamatsu's boat, plus the boat that Rosha and the others bought, the two boats went out to sea together.
On the vast sea, 2 boats, one large and one small, were traveling side by side. Some seagulls followed, eating various foods thrown over by the crew.
The setting sun cast a golden glow over the entire sea. For the Sand Village ninjas, the sea was definitely a rare sight.
Even the Jonin who had traveled all over the world were somewhat excited by the beautiful sea view.
Rosha was chatting with the sailor named Otsu, inquiring about information about the Isle of Forgetfulness. "Mr. Otsu, have you ever set foot on the Isle of Forgetfulness?" Otsu smiled embarrassedly as he steered the rudder.
No, I've only wandered around the Isle of Forgetfulness, I didn't dare to go ashore." "Why is that?" "Because it's too dangerous. Mr. Rosha may not know, but the danger of the Isle of Forgetfulness, in addition to the terrible storms around it, is also the territorial awareness of the huge creatures on the island. The areas where those giant beasts live, in addition to the island, are also their range of activity."
"I see. What kind of giant beasts has Mr. Otsu seen?" "I've seen from a distance a large crab that can spit bubbles, so big, many times bigger than my boat, and also a giant sea snake, whose body alone is wider than my boat."
Then hasn't anyone been curious enough to go to the island to take a look? Hearing Rosha's question, Otsu's expression suddenly became mysterious. "Yes, Mr. Rosha, but it is said that people who return alive from the island lose all their memories on the island, which is why this island is called the Isle of Forgetfulness." Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. This surprised Rosha. There was actually such a thing. So, everyone says that there are spirits of the dead on that island.
Spirits? As soon as these words came out, everyone on the boat was shocked. The two Jonin on the boat seemed to be a little afraid of the so-called spirits, and Shalizard asked hesitantly. "Are you kidding me?" "No," Otsu said very seriously. "Many of us who live on the sea have seen spirits, ghost ships, and even sea monsters." The faces of the two became a little pale. Rosha asked curiously, "As ninjas, are you afraid of this kind of thing?" The two were startled and hurriedly explained. "No, Lord Rosha, we're just curious." "Ha ha ha." Otsu smiled and said, "Don't worry, we're not that lucky. Even for us sailors, it's not easy to see that kind of magical thing." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Unlike the others who were talking and laughing, Rosha suddenly thought of something and fell into deep thought. Because he suddenly remembered a famous scene he had seen in the Naruto world. That was when the end was near, the Sage of Six Paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, summoned the dead Kage from the Pure Land to the real world, and teleported Naruto and the others out of Kagaya's dimension. He didn't feel anything when he watched it at the time, but now that he recalled it, there seemed to be a big problem. If it was said that Minato Namikaze and Hiruzen Sarutobi, whose souls were sealed into the belly of the death god by the Reaper Death Seal when they died, still existed, then that was fine. Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju could also be regarded as reincarnations of Indra and Ashura, with special souls. But the other 5 Kage, including Tobarama Senju, whose souls had died for who knows how long, could still be summoned again, which was especially strange. Upon further reflection, it was even more terrifying to think about. That was when Kabuto, the Dream Master, used the Impure World reincarnation to summon the Impure World army. Not only the souls of those big figures, but also the souls of many small figures still existed after death. So, is it that there is no so-called reincarnation in this world, or are these souls controlled by the Sage of Six Paths himself? Thinking about it this way, what exactly is the Death God summoned when the Reaper Death Seal is used in the plot? That was the power that even the 9 Tails had no power to resist after encountering it, and was sealed. Moreover, this seems to be the only unique life form in the Naruto world that is crowned with the title of God. No, there is also the evil god who gave Hidan immortal power. Looking at it this way, contacting the souls of the dead in this world might not be a bad thing. When he goes back, he can also ask Hanataba if she knows anything about it. It's just a pity that Hanataba doesn't seem to be good at sealing techniques. It seems that if he has the opportunity, he can go to the ruins of the Uzumaki clan in the land of whirlpools. Maybe there will be unexpected gains. By the way, the witch of the land of demons or the monster named Morio might also give him the answers he wants. If so, after the matter of the Isle of Forgetfulness is over, he will go to the land of demons to take a look. It seems that there are still many secrets hidden in the world of Naruto. However, he was not in a hurry. He had to eat one bite at a time. Next, Rosha returned to his cabin, because according to Otsu, the ship would take 2 days at sea to reach the Isle of Forgetfulness. If he stayed here, the Jonin would not be at ease. He was not idle either. He sat cross-legged on the bed in the cabin and felt the senjutsu energy. However, he didn't stay in the cabin for long, because it was dinner time. Otsu anchored the ship on the sea and busied himself as a chef. Before long, a seafood feast was prepared. Mr. Rosha, please taste it. You are ninjas from the Sand Village, you probably haven't tasted this kind of seafood feast before. Then I must have a good taste. As ninjas, they must be vigilant. It can be said that the entire ship was under the surveillance of Shalizard and the others. Reiba and Fujin stayed on Kawamatsu's boat to protect them. Just as everyone was happily enjoying the seafood feast. Suddenly, exclamations came from outside. Before Rosha could ask what was wrong, Reiba's figure appeared in a body flicker technique, and said with some shock. Lord Kazekage, a ghost ship has appeared. What? Even Rosha didn't expect his luck to be so good, when he came to the deck. Sure enough, he saw under the night, on the dim sea full of mist, an apparently dilapidated 3-masted sailing ship appeared, creaking and slowly drifting towards them. Now everyone on the deck was a little terrified. Even Sand Eagle and Sand Lizard had their hairs standing on end. Really is a ghost ship? Are you kidding me? Is our luck that bad? Raiden and Fujin also came to Rosha's side somewhat nervously. Lord Rosha, don't worry about me, protect the employer first. Hey, the two also returned to the employer's ship. At this time, Otsu also said somewhat flusteredly. Mr. Rosha, we can't stay in this sea area for long, we have to leave here. Oh, why? Aren't we waiting for this ghost ship to disappear before we leave? Otsu said with some panic. Mr. Rosha, you may not know, according to some warnings passed down on the sea, ghost ships will attract sea monsters, dragging all ships that have seen the ghost ship into the sea. There's even such a saying. Sure enough, the ship where Mr. Kawamatsu was on had already begun to weigh anchor, preparing to leave here. Although Rosha was also very curious about the so-called ghost ships and sea monsters, he didn't have the habit of risking other people's lives for his own curiosity. Of course, more importantly, he didn't sense anything from the ghost ship that was about to come in front of him. Sand Eagle, Sand Lizard, help Mr. Otsu weigh anchor. Hey! The two, who were already feeling uneasy, immediately moved. Just then, the ghost ship was already close at hand. Rosha looked curiously, only to see that this was a rather modern ship. Although the overall appearance was that of a wooden 3-masted sailing ship,
Judging from its tall chimney and the captain's room inlaid with glass windows, this was actually a steam-powered ship.
It can only be said that the technology tree in the Naruto world is really messy.
Just when Rosha didn't have much interest and was about to withdraw his gaze,
suddenly, he felt a strange feeling in his perception. At the same time, he didn't know if it was an illusion, but he saw a young figure in a sailor suit appear in the captain's room.
No, not an illusion. Because at this moment, he saw it clearly, and the young man seemed to see him too, and waved to him.
At this moment, even Rosha felt a little hairy in his heart.
Just then, behind Rosha, came the somewhat strange voices of Sand Eagle and Sand Lizard.
What's going on? Rosha looked back and saw the two were trying hard to turn the anchor winch, trying to lift the anchor.
However, the anchor seemed to be stuck, and no matter how hard the two tried, they couldn't move it at all. Quote. Seeing this scene, Rosha seemed to understand something, walked to the edge of the ship, and looked towards the sea below.
As expected, feeling the natural energy constantly rising from the depths of the sea below, Rosha shouted directly.
No need to weigh anchor, something is floating up from the sea. Be careful to protect everyone. People on both ships heard Rosha's voice. Raiden and Fujin, Sand Eagle and Sand Lizard, as Jonin, reacted quickly, and immediately realized they were under attack. They appeared in front of the employers in a body flicker technique, protecting them behind them. Could it really be a sea monster? Otsu's voice fell. One after another slender red tentacles flew out from the dark sea, directly trapping both ships, and at the same time, grabbing towards the living people on the ships. The 4 people on the 2 ships were all Jonin. As kunai flew out, they immediately cut off these tentacles. What kind of monster is it? Soon, the doubts of the people were answered. As the sea rolled, a giant crab like a mountain, with disgusting barnacles on its back, appeared in everyone's field of vision. These red tentacles flew out from these barnacles. So it's just a big crab, but it's a bit too ugly.
The appearance of the giant crab caused the 2 ships to shake violently, as if they were about to capsize immediately.
Its huge pincers opened, seemingly wanting to divide the entire ship into 2.
Rosha naturally wouldn't let it get its wish. You're responsible for protecting the employer and Mr. Otsu, leave this monster to me. Hey, extending staff. Extend. Looking at the attacking giant crab pincers, the golden extending staff appeared in Rosha's hand and extended, and he bumped it against the belly of the giant crab in front of him.
Boom! The giant crab, like a hill, was directly knocked away by the huge force and fell back into the sea, splashing a wave of 4 or 5 meters high. Seeing such a huge sea monster being so easily knocked back into the sea by Rosha, the originally terrified people on the deck cheered. So powerful. As expected of a ninja master. Such a big sea monster was actually repelled so easily. Rosha was a little regretful at this time. Judging from the feedback from his extending staff just now, this crab's carapace is really hard. If it were used as a summoning beast, this kind of defensive ability, I'm afraid even A-rank ninjutsu would be helpless.
It's too disgusting. Just then, countless red tentacles stretched out from the bottom of the sea again.
This time the target directly became Rosha. HMPH. Rosha directly threw the extending staff in his hand into the air. Instantly, the extending staff directly turned into a sharp long sword, and under the control of magnet release, it quickly rotated, like a meat grinder, cutting off all the attacking tentacles. On the sea, the giant crab monster instantly roared, and raised its huge sickle-like claws and stabbed towards Rosha. The defensive power brought by the solid carapace directly knocked Rosha's long sword away. The other crab claw also continued to stab towards the hull. How could Rosha let this monster get its wish? Without a ship on the sea, it would be over. He saw his figure disappear in place in an instant. The speed was so fast that it brought a burst of air explosion. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the giant crab. Boom! A powerful kick kicked towards the giant crab's forehead, directly kicking the giant crab away again. It's just that this time Rosha didn't let it go. The extending staff flew back into his hand again, directly turning into a long chain, trapping the crab monster in circles.
the giant crab monster opened its mouth and roared, but it couldn't break free at all.
Seeing this, Rosha raised his right hand, and the Shukaku spear appeared in his hand. Puchi. The Shukaku spear that flew out directly flew into the crab's mouth, and scarlet blood spurted out, and the giant crab instantly lost its breath. Cheers from the deck rang out again. Only Rosha looked towards the ghost ship. "Thank you," accompanied by a soft "thank you."
As the mist began to slowly dissipate, the huge ghost ship just disappeared from Rosha's sight. What happened that night became a legend passed down through generations for most who witnessed it.
A ghost ship, a sea monster, and a powerful ninja. It could be said to contain most of the elements that a maritime legend should have.
Perhaps in another 10 years, it would still be sung by sailors at sea. But for the protagonist of the story, Rosha. At this moment, as he watched the ghost ship disappear before him and heard that soft thank you, his brow furrowed slightly. A coincidence? Rosha didn't believe it. Although there are indeed many inexplicable coincidences in one's life, it was too coincidental that he encountered ghosts and ghost ships, which sailors rarely encounter, and even a sea monster, on his first day in this sea. Especially that thank you. It was as if the other party was coming for him. It's just a pity that even if he had such doubts, he couldn't get any answers. At this time, exclamations came from both ships. Whether it was the people in the merchant caravan or the sailors, they were all amazed by the power that Rosha displayed.
And Kawamatsu even made a request. Mr. Rosha, can you give the sea monster's corpse to me? Don't worry, I won't take it for nothing. I can buy it with money.
Rosha also understood Kawamatsu's thoughts. Taking out such a sea monster corpse would be a great bragging right, and it could also be sold for a lot of money. No problem, but there's no need for money. In the future, Mr. Kawamatsu can just post more missions in our sand village. Kawamatsu was overjoyed. Of course, all the escort missions for our caravan will be given to Sand Village from now on. With the help of the sailors on the ship, the huge sea monster's corpse was dragged to the back of their large ship.
It looked quite spectacular. After this incident, Mr. Kawamatsu was very excited and unwilling to rest. He just wanted to transport the huge sea monster's corpse to the sea country as soon as possible.
Because if it was any slower, the huge crab's corpse would be eaten by the attracted fish and shrimp in the sea.
In this way, a night of sailing made the original slow speed much faster. By the afternoon of the next day, the island of Oblivion was already close at hand.
Under the azure sky, on the calm sea. On the deck of the merchant caravan's large ship, Kawamatsu pointed to the sea area in the distance, which was covered by a large expanse of dark clouds connecting the sky and the earth, and said,
"Mr. Rosha, please look, that is the sea area where the island of Oblivion is located."
"Okay, thank you, Mr. Kawamatsu. Next, Windblade and Thunderblade will escort you back to your country. Please rest assured that there is no problem with their strength."
Having obtained such a huge sea monster corpse for free, Kawamatsu said very happily.
"No problem, I have great trust in the strength of Sand Village ninjas. This ship will return about 3 or 4 days after sending us there, and it will also pass by here. At that time, Mr. Thunderblade and Mr. Windblade can reunite with Mr. Rosha."
"Okay, thank you." So, the two sides said goodbye, and Rosha returned to his small boat.
"Well then, Mr. Otsu, I'll leave the rest to you." "Leave it to me." As Otsu steered the helm, the two ships adjusted their directions, and the single-masted sailboat Rosha bought headed straight for the dark clouds.
As soon as the sailboat approached the sea area where the dark clouds were, a gale swept across the sea. Rosha instantly felt the power of nature. In ninjutsu, the wind force that could be called an A-level wind release was just a strand in the myriad storms at sea here. Lightning flashed in the dark clouds, each one no less than lightning release, Kirin.
Boom! Fortunately, everyone on the ship was prepared. Under Otsu's arrangement, each performed their duties, and they quickly entered the center of the dark clouds.
Instantly, both the storm and the lightning became even wilder. The sea also began to surge, with waves of dozens of meters at every turn. The small boat that Rosha and the others bought was like a leaf, wantonly ravaged by the sea. Even Jonin with the power of chakra would probably be swallowed if they fell into this violent sea. Heavy rain poured down, making everyone feel as if they were in a water world. Rumble. Mr. Otsu, how long will it take for us to pass through this storm?
Rosha, who was already soaked all over, asked Otsu, who was working hard to control the helm. Otsu looked at the direction. It will take another hour, Mr. Rosha. As long as there are no problems with the ship, we will definitely be able to hold on.
I understand. Rosha didn't use ninjutsu to protect the ship. Although he had indeed awakened the power of wood release now, he didn't have any intention of exposing it yet. Because the meaning represented by wood release in this world was too special. If it was exposed, the chain reaction it would cause might make Sand Village the enemy of the entire ninja world.
Currently, including Sand Village, there was only one person who knew that Rosha possessed wood release. That was Hanataba. Fortunately, according to Otsu's request, the ship he bought was indeed of good quality.
It was still very sturdy in such a storm. In this way, after persisting in the dark clouds for more than an hour, the dark clouds in the front sea began to thin out.
Seeing this, Otsu shouted with joy, "Mr. Rosha, we're coming out."
This made the exhausted sand lizard and sand hawk cheer up and look towards the distant sea. As the dark clouds slowly dissipated, a golden sea appeared in everyone's sight. And in the center of the sea, a huge volcanic island emitting white steam stood there. Is that the island of Oblivion? Sand lizard and sand hawk, who had drunk a bellyful of seawater, breathed a sigh of relief with pale faces. As landlubbers on land, they definitely didn't want to experience such a life at sea a second time.
Rosha slowly took a few steps, walked to the bow of the ship, and looked at the distant huge island with his senses open. Sure enough, there was also natural energy on this island, but it was not as concentrated as the dragon vein chakra. It gushed out from the crater and dissipated throughout the entire island.
And just at this moment, accompanied by a loud cry, a huge eagle as big as a mountain appeared in everyone's sight, hovering above the volcanic island.
The size alone left everyone dumbfounded. So big. Looks like we've come to the right place, Lord Rosha. Yes. Rosha nodded. Thank you, everyone. If there really are suitable summoning beasts on this island, you can give priority to choosing this time. Hey, Sand Lizard and Sandhawk were both excited. For a ninja, what a powerful summoning beast means is self-evident. Well then, Mr. Rosha, I won't accompany you any further. If you go further, it will be the territory of those giant beasts.
Okay. Thank you for waiting for us here. After saying that, he glanced at Sand Lizard and Sandhawk and said, "Rest for a while, then prepare to land on the island." Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. After resting for about 10 minutes, everyone's condition returned to its best. Rasa then led Sand Lizard and Sandhawk to attack this forgotten island. Rasa naturally controlled the gold dust to fly directly over. Sand Lizard and Sandhawk ran on the sea surface. There were indeed many giant beasts on this island. Before the group had gone far, the seawater under Sand Lizard and Sandhawk's feet began to churn, and a giant octopus directly waved its tentacles from the sea to grab the two. As Jonin, the two naturally easily used wind release to cut off these tentacles. However, this octopus actually had the function of regenerating severed limbs. With a wriggle of the severed tentacles, a new tentacle actually grew directly. It seems that the intelligence is correct. The giant beasts on this island all possess some incredible abilities. You guys test where the limit of this octopus's regenerative ability is. Hey! But just as Sand Lizard and Sandhawk were preparing to continue using wind release. From the sea, two huge crab claws stretched out, and a very beautiful cyan giant crab appeared, directly grabbing two tentacles of the giant octopus, and dragged it into the sea amidst the giant octopus's wails and struggles. Good. So powerful. Rasa, seeing this, also said with some amazement. What an incredible island. Let's go to the island first. Hey! At the same time, in the forest of Forgotten Island, under the dim shade of the trees, a girl with a head of fiery red hair stared coldly at the three men flying over. Then she closed her eyes and formed hand seals. At this moment, all the giant beasts on the island sensed something. The girl's figure disappeared into the forest. Rasa, who was controlling the gold dust cloud and flying in the sky. Suddenly sensing something, he looked towards the forest on the distant island. Is it an illusion? He had clearly sensed a chakra just now, but now he couldn't feel anything at all.
No, it's not an illusion. Rasa is not good at sensing.
Especially in front of those excellent long-range sensing ninjas.
In other words, is there also some secret hidden on this island? Just then, a burst of wild beast roars came from the entire island.
A woo. The sound was so loud that everyone heard it and felt a sense of foreboding. What's going on? Before the three could understand what had happened, they saw the giant eagle, which had been circling over the island, suddenly flying towards them. Be careful. The giant eagle came to Rasa at an extremely fast speed, waving its wings, creating a hurricane that made the sea churn, and Sand Lizard and Sand Hawk almost lost their balance and fell into the water. What's going on? Looking at the giant eagle suddenly attacking them, Rasa was also a little strange. As subordinates, Sand Lizard and Sand Hawk immediately stood up and said,
Lord Kazekage, leave it to us. But just as the two were about to form hand seals, they saw the giant eagle's huge lantern-like eyes emitting ripples.
In that instant, Sand Lizard and Sand Hawk both felt their chakra become chaotic. Rasa was shocked. This giant eagle can actually use genjutsu. Fortunately, the giant eagle's genjutsu wasn't very powerful. Sand Lizard and Sand Hawk, both Jonin, quickly broke free.
Seeing this, the giant eagle immediately flapped its wings and flew away from here.
Sand Hawk, however, looked delighted and looked at Rasa pleadingly.
Lord Kazekage, this giant eagle is so powerful. Can I choose it as a summoning beast?
Sand Lizard was stunned, not expecting this guy Sand Hawk to react so quickly. Not to mention the giant eagle's huge size and genjutsu ability, even its flying ability was enough to make it a top-grade summoning beast. No problem, but let's go to the island first. Seeing Rasa agree so readily, Sandhawk was filled with gratitude, and Sand Lizard also secretly resolved to snatch any good summoning beasts he saw later.
Without the giant eagle's interference, the three quickly landed on the island. The solid feeling of the land made the three of them breathe a sigh of relief.
What do we do next? Lord Kazekage. Rasa looked at the huge island in front of him and issued an order. Next, we will split up into 3 groups to explore this island. I will go to the middle, and you two will go to the left and right. If you find anything, immediately notify the others with signal flares. Hey! The two were very excited and entered the forest to the left and right. Rasa didn't move, but immortal chakra energy surged, and fine sand flew out of his body, floating into the sky and condensing into a giant eyeball, looking towards the entire island. This forgotten island is really big. In terms of area alone, it is 4 or 5 times the size of Sunagakur. In the very center is a huge active volcano. It seems that there is nothing wrong with what I sensed. The giant beasts on these islands all live around this volcano. Just from what I saw through the sand eye, there are no fewer than a dozen giant beasts of all kinds. Since that's the case, then let's go to the crater first. After making up his mind, Rasa also released the technique, controlled his body and soared into the air, flying towards the center of the island. But before he had even flown a third of the way, the giant eagle's cry sounded in the sky again.
And this time, it wasn't just the giant eagle that appeared. In the sky, there was also a giant bat flapping its wings and a giant bird that looked like a vulture. At the same time, in the perception below, a colorful giant spider and a giant 3-headed dog with bared teeth appeared in the forest under his feet, staring at him. Oh, this made Rasa a little strange. Obviously, these giant beasts are all coming for him. However, have the intelligence levels of these giant beasts actually improved to this point, knowing how to cooperate, or thinking of the strangeness he sensed when he first landed on the island? Could it be that these giant beasts are being controlled by someone? Interesting. If it were a normal enemy, Rasa would definitely not show mercy. But the giant beasts in front of him are all future summoning beasts of Sunagakur. How could Rasa possibly hurt them? Since that's the case, adamantine imprisonment cage. Rasa summoned the adamantine staff, which flew into the sky, and then divided into 10, 10 into 100, and 100 into 1,000.
It must be said that although Rasa has developed many corresponding techniques after converting his own energy from chakra to immortal chakra energy, so far, the most handy one to use is still this move, Adamantine Staff. With the three abilities of matter transformation, inorganic animation, and chakra absorption, coupled with the control ability of magnet release, the role he can play is even more useful than many ninjutsu.
Faced with the attacking adamantine staff, these giant beasts showed their respective abilities. The giant eagle waved its wings to create a hurricane, the bat spewed sound waves, and the unknown strange bird flapped its wings to fly out wind blades. The giant spider spat out spider webs, and the three-headed dog was very agile in the forest, leaping and moving.
This made Rasa even more excited, feeling that he had made the right decision to come out this time.
These summoning beasts can directly raise Sanagakure's strength to another level. Unfortunately, even if these summoning beasts are faster and have more tricks, they still have no power to resist in the face of the densely packed adamantine staff controlled by Rasa. They were bound by the golden adamantine staff combined into square cages, and crashed down from the sky with a wail.
"You guys just stay here." After saying that, he flew directly towards the crater. Without these summoning beasts blocking the way, Rosha quickly flew to the volcano at the very center of the island.
Instantly, a pungent smell of sulfur assaulted his nostrils, and molten lava flowed in the volcano below.
However, Rosha didn't feel any discomfort. Instead, he closed his eyes and sensed the vast natural energy below. Clearly, the changes on this island were all due to the natural energy erupted from this volcano. In that case, Rosha had no reason to let it go. He had already decided that although there were many giant beasts on this island, they were too far from their sand village. If he could absorb it like the dragon vein chakra, condense a chakra fruit, and bring it to the dragon oasis, turning the dragon oasis into a sacred place where summoning beasts could be born, that was what he wanted. Thinking of this, he didn't waste any time. He directly controlled the gold dust cloud to descend and opened his right hand. A huge suction force came from the open black lens bracket seal close black lens bracket, causing a hurricane and beginning to absorb the natural energy from the volcano below. This triggered a chain reaction throughout the entire island.
The location where Rosha had bound several giant beasts. The red-haired girl was trying hard to unlock the cages that bound the giant beasts, but even if she tried every possible method, she couldn't break the solid iron cage formed by the as-you-wish gold staff. Her face turned pale, and she clenched her fists tightly, not knowing what to do. Just then, the air above the entire island began to flow strangely, rotating around the volcano, and the dark clouds around the island's sea area also began to roll. The red-haired girl's pupils shrank sharply. She put her hands together, and felt the changes throughout the island. Her body also trembled. In that instant, the red-haired girl seemed to have thought of many things, but in the end, she gritted her teeth and ran towards the volcano. Compared to the high-density, high-concentration natural energy of the dragon vein chakra, the natural energy of this forgotten island was much sparser. Therefore, Rosha's absorption speed was not fast. Although Rosha had long suspected that the giant beasts on this island were controlled by someone, he was still stunned when he saw the girl in front of him. "Stop!" A red-haired girl walked out of the cave inside the volcano, wearing a beautiful purple sleeveless kimono, tied with a long flowing bow, and shouted anxiously at Rosha. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Rosha was a little surprised, but he slowly retracted his right hand and looked curiously at the barefoot girl in front of him. "I see, these giant beasts on this island are indeed controlled by someone, and that person is you." Rosha's displayed strength made the girl's body tremble, but she still mustered her courage and said, gritting her teeth, "This island does not welcome you outsiders, leave here." Saying that, she made a hand seal, meaning she was about to attack. Rosha naturally ignored her. Instead, he looked at the girl in front of him with some surprise because he felt the vast chakra flowing within her body at this moment. Interesting, he clearly felt that the girl in front of him was just an ordinary person, but at this moment, she suddenly possessed a powerful chakra volume that even a strong person at the cage level might not have. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Suddenly,
Rosha noticed the girl's very conspicuous red hair and said with a hint of surprise on his face. Are you from the Uzumaki clan? As soon as he said this, the girl's face changed drastically, and without the slightest hesitation, countless golden chains flew out from her back, directly binding Rosha's arms and body. As expected of the power that could seal even the tailed beasts, at this moment, even Rosha himself felt the flow of immortal chakra energy within his body become sluggish. Adamantine sealing chains. Rosha's face became even more delighted. As expected, you are from the Uzumaki clan. This was definitely a bigger surprise than the summoning beasts on this island. Moreover, judging from the fact that this girl was only 14 or 15 years old but could use the adamantine sealing chains, her sealing techniques should be very powerful. After hearing Rosha's words, the girl became even more nervous. The adamantine sealing chains binding Rosha's body also tightened a little. Rosha did not resist, allowing the sealing chains of the adamantine sealing chains to bind him. Because he didn't see a trace of killing intent in the girl's eyes, instead, there was some panic. Don't be nervous, I don't mean to hurt you. What's your name? The girl in front of him didn't mean to answer at all, instead, her eyes became even more nervous. Seeing this, Rosha continued to explain. My name is Rosha, the fourth Kazekage of the Sand Village in the Land of Wind. As soon as he said this, the girl was stunned, and then she took a few steps back in panic, and even the sealing formula became somewhat unstable. Rosha did not struggle because of this, instead, he said. You don't have to be afraid of me. I don't have any malice towards your Uzumaki clan. On the contrary, not long ago, I rescued an Uzumaki girl in the Land of Grass. Her name is Hanataba. I don't know if you know her. What? Hanataba. As expected, the girl in front of him knew Hanataba. Hearing this name, the girl's expression suddenly became eager, but her hands still did not separate, obviously not trusting Rosha's words very much.
Seeing this, Rosha told the girl in front of him what had happened in the Land of Grass.
Of course, in this story, he was the hero who rescued Hanataba from the Land of Grass. Hanataba is now living in our sand village and is doing very well. She has also become a disciple of Chiyo, an elder of our sand village, and is learning medical ninjutsu. The girl's eyes suddenly became complicated, revealing a struggle, as if she was thinking about whether to believe Rosha. I don't need to lie to you. You should understand that although your Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques are indeed very powerful, it is still impossible to deal with me. Moreover, you can go to the sand village and meet her to find out how Hanataba is doing in the sand village, right? Listening to Rosha's sincere words, seeing that Rosha didn't have any resisting movements, and thinking about the other party's identity as Kazekage, there was no need to lie to herself. The girl finally released her sealing formula and asked, gritting her teeth. Hanataba, is she really in the sand village? Yes. Looking at the golden chains that turned into chakra and dissipated, Rosha nodded and said.
She is doing very well, don't worry, you will know when you see her with me. So, can you tell me your name now?
Hinoka. The girl's eyes became calm again, and she said coldly. I didn't promise you to go to the sand village. Rosha would naturally not let go of this surprise, and said very sincerely. Hinoka, then I, as the Kazekage of the sand village, invite you, Hinoka, to our sand village. I think there should only be you on this island, right? Don't you want to live with your relatives? A flicker of interest flashed in Hinoka's eyes, but it quickly turned cold as she said. I think I'm fine on my own. The only reason you're inviting me is because you want the power of our Uzumaki clan. What's wrong? Aren't you satisfied with Hanataba? Rasa could tell that, unlike the shy Hanataba, this girl named Hinoka was very opinionated. Rasa didn't hide anything and said, that's right, I do need the power of the Uzumaki clan, but I'm also very serious about inviting you to join our Sunagaku. Besides, Hanataba isn't very good at sealing techniques, so she chose to learn medical ninjutsu. Only then did Hinoka seriously look at Rasa. It seems Hanataba is really in Sunagaku. Seeming to sense Rasa's confusion, Hinoka explained. The ninjas of our Uzumaki clan, depending on their talents, some become sealing ninjas and some become medical ninjas. Hanataba's talent in medical ninjutsu is outstanding, so the clan leader didn't let her learn sealing techniques.
Semi-sage body. I see. Then how did you end up alone on this island?
Hinoka's expression turned gloomy as she said. 5 years ago, our Uzushiogakure was attacked by Kurigakure. In order to preserve the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, the clan leader secretly sent away some of the talented members. The ship I was on encountered a storm at sea, and when I woke up, I was on this island. Seeing this, Rasa comforted her and said, "Please accept my condolences. Everything will be better in the future." Hearing such gentle words, Hinoka looked at Rasa with some surprise, and then asked about the key issue. "What were you doing just now? I can sense the natural energy of this island changing. If I'm not mistaken, you're absorbing the natural energy of this island." This surprised Rasa somewhat. "You can also sense natural energy. Or is it that all of you Uzumaki can?" Perhaps Rasa's previous gentleness had made Hinoka lower her guard, she explained. Sensing natural energy is a necessary condition for us Uzumaki to learn sealing techniques, because our Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques are different from other techniques. The power it uses is not entirely chakra, but also some natural energy. This made Rasa somewhat curious, and at the same time, he asked tentatively. "Can you sense the natural energy in my body?" Hinoka shook her head with some surprise. "I thought you were like me, using sealing techniques to isolate the detection." "No, I didn't use any techniques. But Hanataba can sense the natural energy in my body." Hinoka was even more surprised. "Impossible, unless Hanataba has awakened the Kagura Shingen." Kagura Shingen. That's right, it's the highest sensing ability of our Uzumaki clan. It can not only sense chakra and natural energy, but more importantly, this ability can sense the emotions in people's hearts. Sense emotions. Yes, people's emotions are also a kind of energy. Whether it's hatred, friendliness, love, or killing intent, people's appearances can be disguised, and chakra can be hidden, but the emotions in the heart cannot be hidden, no. Speaking of this, Hinoka realized that she seemed to have said too much. "You haven't told me, what were you doing just now? Why did you come to this island?" "As you can see, I was indeed absorbing the natural energy of this island just now, because I'm very curious as to why this island has so many giant beasts suitable to become summons. What's so special about the natural energy here? I came here this time for these giant beasts. Our Sunagakure needs some summons." This was not unexpected to Hinoka, she just said coldly. "Do you know that if these natural energies are gone, this island will lose its protection, and these giant beasts will be exposed to the eyes of everyone in this ninja world? What kind of consequences will that bring?" At this moment, Hinoka scolded coldly, as if the person standing in front of her was not the Kazekage who stood at the pinnacle of the ninja world, but just an ordinary man. With Rasa's personality, of course he wouldn't argue with a little girl, but instead said very kindly. "Now that you've said it, I know." Quote. Hinoka was choked and couldn't speak. Rasa asked instead, "Do you like this island very much?" Hinoka said with a gentle expression. "Although these giant beasts on this island look scary, they are very gentle inside. If it weren't for the care of these giant beasts in the past 5 years, I might have already died here." "I see. It seems that these giant beasts are indeed very smart."
Speaking of this, Rasa looked at Hinoka, this girl, and said very seriously.
"It's a pity, because our Sunagakure really needs summons, so I can't give up this island and the creatures on this island. However, I can promise in the name of the Kazekage that in the future, Sunagakure's ninjas will not force these giant beasts to become summons unless they are recognized by these giant beasts. If you are willing, I can give you the right to supervise." Hinoka's beautiful eyes widened, she looked at Rasa with some surprise, and said slowly. "You are very different from the Kazekage of Sunagakure that I imagined."
"Oh, what should I look like in your imagination?"
"HMPH, like most men, tyrannical, rude, self-righteous." Rasa was a little speechless, but he couldn't argue with a little girl. However, since he couldn't take away the natural energy of this island like the Ryumyaku chakra, he could only think of other ways.
Rasa thought for a while and then asked, "Did you make these giant beasts attack me?"
Hinoka's expression stiffened, but fortunately, she now realized that Rasa was not angry, so she explained. "I just wanted you to leave this island. Well, so the people who leave this island lose their memories because of you." Yes, I can use sealing techniques to seal their memories about this island. It seems your sealing techniques are really powerful.
What exactly do you want to say? Hinoka seemed a little impatient.
Rasa didn't waste any time and said, I'm not good at sealing techniques and summoning techniques, so this is just an idea of mine. Whether it works or not depends on you. You should know the reverse summoning technique, right? I'm thinking, can we use this island and Sunagakur as 2 marked points, and you can construct a space channel for the summoning technique, so that if you use the summoning technique and the reverse summoning technique, the caster can travel back and forth between the 2 places, linking the 2 places together.
Hinoka's eyes lit up instantly, then she frowned.
What's wrong? Is it not feasible? The reason Rosha proposed this idea was because in the plot, Jiraiya found Mount Myoboku through reverse summoning. At the same time, he remembered that someone had analyzed the Flying Thunder God technique, believing that the space transfer of the Flying Thunder God technique was actually a kind of reverse summoning technique. Hinoka shook her head. It's a good idea. From a technique perspective, it's feasible. In fact, many of our Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques are applications of summoning and reverse summoning, summoning the power of the Grim Reaper. But unfortunately, I'm not very good at space-time ninjutsu.
Is that so? Rosha was a little disappointed, but then, suddenly remembering something, he said.
I have something that I don't know if it can help you. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Rosha took out a scroll from his pocket. After performing the summoning technique, he summoned a booklet and 4 scrolls and handed them to Hinoka. Hinoka took it with some doubt. But when she looked at it, her face was immediately filled with surprise.
As expected of the Kazekage of Sunagakure, you actually have this kind of thing.
Rosha shook his head. This isn't mine. No, it can be said that way. This booklet was actually some of the insights that Rosha obtained from Baizu's home regarding Baizu's research on the Flying Thunder God technique when he was in Roron. As for these 4 scrolls, they were the 4 Violet Flames formation scrolls obtained from Danzo's root. Unfortunately, Rosha currently doesn't have time to study these things at all. It's better to give them to Hinoka. With her talent in sealing techniques, she might be able to make the most of them. Will this help you? Hinoka nodded, looking at Rosha with a strange look in her eyes. I can try. Thank you for your hard work. I will stay here for 3 more days. After 3 days, you will come with me to Sunagakur. Don't rush about the summoning beast. Now that it has been determined, everything will be easy. Okay. This time, Hinoka did not refuse. While Rosha, as the Kazekage, was working hard for the state of Sunagakur and unexpectedly gained an Uzumaki clan orphan, Konohagakure of the Land of Fire, as the center of the Naruto story, had not yet ended the external war, and the internal village began to split apart. Ever since Konoha's defeat in the Land of Rivers last time, all parties in Konoha needed someone to stand up and bear the huge losses of the village this time. As the commander of the front line and arbitrarily intercepted the Kazekage, resulting in the emptiness of Konoha's front line, Shimura Danzo was undoubtedly the most suitable candidate. Not to mention, the 2 Uchiha clan members who escaped back brought back conclusive evidence that Shimura Danzo had indeed transplanted the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, which made Danzo the target of public criticism. However, even with such ironclad evidence, the entire Konoha village dragged on for a month before finally launching a trial against Danzo. First, the war on the front line was tense, and second, Danzo was already in critical condition when he came back. Fortunately, after a month, Danzo finally woke up. At this time, inside the Hokage building in Konoha, Konoha's high-level officials gathered together. The leader was naturally the 3rd Hokage. On his left and right were the village's other 2 elders, Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu. Below were Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Minato, and the heads of the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Ino-Shikacho clans. In the center of the circle was Danzo, who was wrapped in bandages all over his body and had lost an arm, and Aburame Shibi, who was also the commander of the front line in the Land of Rivers. Looking at his friend in front of him, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed in his heart and said with some helplessness. All right, now that everyone is here, Danzo, it's time to talk about your affairs. Although Danzo looked a little embarrassed and weak at this time, his eyes were even more gloomy as he said. What do you want me to say, Hiruzen? Don't you already know everything from Shibi?
No one in the audience spoke, so Sarutobi Hiruzen could only say. Shibi has indeed said everything, but I would like Danzo to say it himself, as well as the battle process between you and the Kazekage of Sanagakure. Unfortunately, Danzo didn't give his friend any face and said,
"What can I say? I can only say that my skills are inferior to others. You have all seen the result. My arm and eyes have been taken away by him, even my summoning beast." Of course, Danzo couldn't go into details, because there were too many secrets involved.
Whether it was the forbidden technique he sent out to save his life, or Izanagi, or Kagami's Mangekyo Sharingan, none of them could be exposed.
Fortunately, he and Orochimaru were the only ones in the entire Konoha who knew this secret so far. Seeing Danzo being so uncooperative, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression also became serious.
Danzo, do you know how much damage your unauthorized actions have caused to the village?
Seeing Hiruzen actually using the righteousness of the village to pressure himself, Danzo looked coldly at everyone present. Damage. I want to ask everyone present, if you had received the information at that time, would you have made the same choice as me? You should understand what the Uzumaki clan's orphan represents. Not to mention the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques, just letting Sanagakure create a new Jinchuriki is unacceptable to Konoha now. Moreover, if my plan had succeeded, it would definitely have broken the current stalemate in Konoha, but I just failed now. After hearing Danzo's words, the expressions of everyone present varied, but from the perspective of the righteousness of the village, it was really impossible to say bad things about Danzo. It could only be said that Danzo was calculated by the Kazekage of Sanagakure. Udatain Kaharu, as a friend, also only said at this time. Although victory and defeat are common things on the battlefield, Danzo, the losses to the village this time are too great. Udatain Kaharu seemed to be blaming Danzo, but in fact, she was already trying to excuse her friend.
All the smart people present could feel this. Orochimaru sneered at this, Jiraiya and Minato frowned, and the other clan leaders also frowned slightly.
At this time, Uchiha Fugaku, as the head of the Uchiha clan, finally couldn't help but say. Then, Elder Danzo, how do you explain the matter of you secretly stealing our Uchiha clan's Sharingan and transplanting it onto yourself? Danzo glanced at the Uchiha clan leader with some disdain and asked very sternly. Explain. What explanation do you want? Danzo deeply understood how weak this Uchiha clan leader, nicknamed Konoha's Fierce Eye, was in his heart. Sure enough, as soon as Danzo said this, Fugaku was stunned for a moment, and then looked extremely angry.
However, this anger was quickly suppressed by Danzo's words.
Since you asked, I can also tell you clearly that when teacher Tobirama was around, he was already studying your Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Tuanzang's straightforward words caused a drastic change in Fugaku Uchiha's expression, and the expressions of others present also turned ugly. Hiruzen Sarutobi, seeing the big trouble Tuanzang had caused, could only try to cover for him and said apologetically to Fugaku Uchiha. Fugaku, Tuanzang is not wrong, but please rest assured that there is no personal agenda here. It's all for the village. Even the research on the cells of the first Hokage was started by teacher Tobirama. It's just that after many failures, I ordered it to be stopped. I didn't expect Tuanzang. Seeing Fugaku Uchiha's angry and humiliated expression, Hiruzen Sarutobi knew that if he didn't end this topic, it would really cause big problems, so he decisively said.
Tuanzang, in view of your unauthorized research on the first Hokage's cells and Sharingan, as well as your failure in this battle with Sanagakure, you are stripped of all your positions in the village, and you should also step down from the position of leader of Root. Tuanzang did not refute, because this was already a good result for him. The village has suffered such a huge loss this time, it is indeed my fault, and I am willing to bear it. In addition to this, I have a way to alleviate the current crisis in the village. Quote. Except for Fugaku Uchiha, everyone else cast curious glances. Tuanzang said with hatred in his eyes. You can tell Sanagakure and Iwagakure, and even Kirigakure, about my arm being taken away. As soon as Tuanzang said this, everyone suddenly understood, but Fugaku Uchiha's expression became even more humiliated. Unfortunately, Hiruzen did not give Fugaku a chance and directly made the final decision. I will have the Anbu handle this matter. You can leave now, Tuanzang. The punishment for you will be carried out immediately. After speaking, he said to Minato again. Minato, I'm counting on you for the matters on the front line. I've made a decision. I'm already old, so you will now serve as the commander-in-chief of the front line. At once, everyone seemed to have forgotten their displeasure and revealed shock and unconcealable joy. Even Fugaku's expression improved a little. Only Tuanzang and Orochimaru had gloomy expressions. Minato's expression was very calm. I understand, Lord Hokage. I will definitely drive Sanagakure and Iwagakure out of our land of fire. Yes, thank you, Minato. Speaking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi also sighed and said with a tired face. The future of the village depends on you young people. Konoha. In the dark forest where Root is located. Tuanzang and Orochimaru, who had been relieved of all their duties, walked slowly here. Orochimaru's signature eerie voice sounded. Hehehe, I thought Elder Tuanzang would tell Lord Hokage all the information about this fourth Kazekage. Tuanzang walked on the grass, his steps did not stop, and said with a cold face. What if I told him, not to mention that I don't have conclusive evidence, even if I did? What does the victory or defeat of this war have to do with me now? On the contrary, it's you, Orochimaru. It seems that Hiruzen has chosen Minato as his successor. He abandoned you, his disciple, but chose Jiraiya's disciple. Are you really willing to accept this?
Orochimaru's snake pupils shrank, and then he let out a cold laugh and said. I don't have a special obsession with the position of Hokage like Elder Tuanzang. The two of them were silent for a while. After a long time, seeing that they were almost at Root's base, the two stopped. Tuanzang turned his head and said coldly to Orochimaru. Root was established by me from scratch. Hiruzen's words cannot remove me from my position. Now, Root's spies have infiltrated Sanagakure and are approaching the Kazecage's wife. As long as we confirm that Sanagakure's Kazekage really has the ability to deprive others of their bloodline limit, then we can take action, but I can't do it alone. Orochimaru, I need your power.
Oh, Elder Tuanzang is still not giving up? Tuanzang's eyes were sharp. It's not just me who's not giving up, Orochimaru. Aren't you interested in the Sanagakure Kazecage's strange ability? That's a power that can even suppress the first Hokage's cells.
To this, Orochimaru just showed a strange smile. Seeing this, Tuanzang felt that everything was under control. I will notify you when I have news. After saying that, he turned around and left alone, heading to Root. Orochimaru just watched. After an unknown amount of time, the movement in the forest attracted Orochimaru's attention. A small white snake crawled out of the forest, climbed up Orochimaru's sleeve and leg, and onto his arm, raising its head and making a proud voice like a loli. Orochimaru, how is the matter that the white snake sage told you to do going? Have you found the person that the white snake sage asked you to find? You have been dragging it on for too long? Orochimaru's face showed a little excited smile. No, I haven't found him, but I probably already know who the white snake sage is looking for. Who is it? Hehehe, before I answer your question, can you answer a question for me? The little white snake said with a slightly disgusted expression. Don't even think about it, Orochimaru. You can't learn the sage arts of Ryuchi Cave. It's because you messed up your body yourself, otherwise with your aptitude. Orochimaru's face showed a little regret, but he quickly shook his head firmly. No, I just want to know, why are you looking for that person? Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. A trace of thought flashed in the little white snake's vertical pupils, and then it said in a deep voice. I don't know either, but the white snake sage said that the fate of this world has once again reached a turning point. The last time was the Sage of Six Paths, but unfortunately, the toads of Mount Myoboku seized the opportunity first. This time, we must not let those toads take it away. Orochimaru's eyes lit up. Sage of Six Paths, interesting. However, you can rest assured this time. The toads of Mount Myoboku will definitely not be able to take it away. Why? Because according to the information I know, the person you are looking for this time should be the fourth Kazekage of Sanagakure. Sanagakure and Konoha are mortal enemies now.
and Jiraiya's disciple should soon inherit the position of Hokage. The little white snake's snake pupils also lit up and said excitedly. So that's how it is. That's great. Can the snakes of our Ryuchi cave finally become real dragons, Orochimaru? Well done. I'll go back and tell the white snake sage. Don't worry, the thing I promised you, the white snake sage's scales, will be sent to you soon. After saying that, it disappeared on the spot with a bang. Only Orochimaru was left savoring the words just now. Interesting, a real dragon, what is that? And in the other direction. Minato and Jiraiya were leaving the village and heading towards the battlefield. Minato suddenly said to Jiraiya, Jiraiya-sensei, if we can really get our wish this time and temporarily stop the war, I want to take this opportunity to go to Mount Myoboku to practice sage arts. This made Jiraiya stunned, and Minato calmly explained. Although Lord Tuanzang didn't go into details, it can be confirmed from the mouths of the surviving comrades that the Kazekage of Sanagakure has become stronger again after defeating Elder Tuanzang so quickly. I can't stand still. Hearing this, Jiraiya immediately understood and felt the changes in his disciple during this period. He nodded heavily. I understand, Minato. No matter what you do, I will support you. The Island of Oblivion. Time flies, and 3 days have passed. During these 3 days, everyone on the Island of Oblivion has been very busy. Hinoka is learning the Flying Thunder God technique and the 4 Violet Flames formation from Rasa, while Sand Lizard and Sandhawk are busy subduing the summoned beasts they have taken a fancy to. Rasa is studying the natural energy of this island. In fact, the steps to subdue summoned beasts are relatively simple. First, these summoned beasts need to have the potential to become summoned beasts. Having chakra within their bodies is one aspect, and another is having a certain level of intelligence. Then there is the subduing of the summoned beasts. There are 2 ways to do this. One is forced control, such as the summoned beasts of the 6 paths of pain, which are forcibly controlled with black rods. The other way is like raising a pet, allowing the summoned beast to actively recognize you as its master. For these 3 days, Sand Lizard and Sandhawk have been trying to please the 2 giant beasts they have set their sights on. Sandhawk has taken a fancy to the giant eagle, which can use illusions in addition to its ability to fly. Sand Lizard has taken a fancy to a giant lizard, which has the ability to camouflage like a chameleon, making even its master invisible and undetectable by sensory ninjas. Unfortunately, 3 days is still too short. The 2 have only managed to reach the point where these 2 giant beasts don't dislike them. There is still some time to go before they can subdue them. Although Hinoka has Rasa's booklet to help her, even with her outstanding talent in sealing techniques, it will still take some time for her to understand this space-time ninjutsu. Fortunately, she has mastered the 4 Violet Flames formation very quickly. As for Rasa, he has also encountered a problem. Since he came to this world and obtained the open black lens bracket karma close black lens bracket, he has absorbed all kinds of chakra and natural energy, and each time he has gained some unique abilities. But only this time, on this island of oblivion, after absorbing the natural energy emitted by this island, his body has not reacted at all. What is the reason? Is it because there is too little natural energy on this island? Or is the natural energy of this island not special at all? These questions cannot be answered in a short period of time. Because, according to the time, Windblade and Lightning Blade should be back, and everyone should go back. On the edge of the volcano on the island of Oblivion, there is a small wooden house. This is where Hinoka has lived for the past 5 years. The interior is decorated very warmly. Now that she is leaving, Hinoka is a little reluctant. Seeing this, Rasa comforted her. Don't be like this. It's not like we're not coming back. When you figure out the reverse summoning technique, you can come back at any time. Hinoka's eyes lit up, and the loss on her face disappeared. She nodded and said, You're right. Are we going back to the Sand Village next? Yes, but before we go back, there are some questions I want to ask you. Of course, you can refuse if you don't feel comfortable answering. A hint of curiosity flashed across Hinoka's cold face as she asked. What questions? I heard that your Uzumaki clan has a sealing technique called Reaper Death Seal. Hinoka was stunned, and then she heard a question that surprised her very much. It is said that this technique can summon the god of death. Do you know anything about this summoned god of death?
To be honest, when Hinoka heard Rasa ask about the Reaper Death Seal, she thought of countless possibilities, but she never thought of this one. As soon as this question came out, even Hinoka asked in silence.
Why would you ask this question? It's nothing, I'm just a little curious about the world of the god of death. As Rasa spoke, he told her about his encounter with the ghost ship and ghosts on the sea. That was definitely not an illusion. I really should have encountered a ghost. Only then did Hinoka roughly understand Rasa's thoughts, but she also said hesitantly.
The clan leader once told us that many of our Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques are actually using summoning techniques to summon the power of the god of death. Among them, the Reaper Death Seal is the ultimate of this technique, but communicating with the god of death has never been done before.
I see, then can you summon the god of death? Hinoka said strangely. Why do I feel like you really want to see the god of death?
I'm just thinking that maybe communicating with this ancient existence can answer some of the doubts in my heart.
Hinoka's expression became even stranger, but she still shook her head and said, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Of course, I can't say that either. Summoning the god of death has conditions. It must be sacrificed with the caster's life to see the god of death, but in that case, the caster will also die. I understand, in that case, we can only go to the land of demons first. Hinoka was puzzled. The land of demons, yes. I was thinking that if we could see this god of death, we could go back from the land of fire and return to the village hidden in whirlpools. Although the hidden whirlpool village has been destroyed, there are still some things left behind. The reason why Rasa said this was because he remembered the plot where Orochimaru took Sasuke back to the ruins of the hidden whirlpool village and summoned the god of death with the death god mask to unlock the Reaper Death Seal. Hearing this, Hinoka's originally calm eyes suddenly moved. Go back? After I see Hanataba, if possible, I want to take Hanataba back with me. Yes, I can promise you that, but for now, you have to go to the land of demons with me. There is also a demon that has existed for a long time. Morio, which may also solve the doubts in my heart. At that time, I may still need your sealing technique.
Since he came out, Rasa naturally wanted to solve it along the way. However, he certainly wouldn't believe Morio's one-sided words.
Morio, Hinoka felt a little strange about Rasa's desire to see those powerful demons, but she didn't ask much and said,
I don't have the confidence to seal such a demon. It is said that only the priestesses of the land of demons have the power to seal that kind of demon.
I will consider this matter, let's go see it first, it's just along the way anyway.
In this way, after packing everything up, Rasa took Hinoka, Sandhawk, and Sand Lizard away from the island of Oblivion and found Otsu, who was docked on the sea. This time, in order to save time, Rasa, who was already familiar with the directions, did not cross the storm. Instead, he directly used sand to lift the entire ship into the air and crossed the sea from the sky. After waiting outside for a short time, they waited for Wind Blade and Lightning Blade to return safely. Then, Rasa generously gave the entire ship to the sailors who brought them here, and then directly took everyone towards the land of demons.
And after learning that Lord Kazekage was about to arrive, Daikoku, Ishio, and Gravel, who were responsible for investigating here, the 3 members of the Covert Operations Unit, were also on high alert.
At this time, under the night, in the land of demons, in a city built against the mountain. Inside the huge palace, the noble and elegant priestess, Moroku, suddenly woke up from her dream. A trace of panic appeared on her girlish face. The land of demons, like the land of birds, is a small country nestled between the land of wind and the land of earth. However, its location is deep behind both countries, far from the center of the war.
Compared to the land of birds, the land of rivers, the land of rain, and the land of grass, which are constantly in chaotic wars, the internal environment of the land of demons is relatively stable. Therefore, the land of demons does not have its own ninja force. What is passed down in this country is a mysterious power called the Miko, and the legend of the demon, Morio. When Rosa led Hinoka and 4 subordinates here, Daikoku, Sakyu, and Rikusho immediately came forward to greet them. How is the investigation about Morio going? The 3 immediately told everything they knew.
Hinoka, who was on the side, finally understood that Rosa had long been eyeing the demon in the land of demons. It wasn't because he encountered a ghost that he had this idea. As expected, a man's mouth is a deceiving ghost. After explaining everything he knew, Daikoku immediately asked, "Kazekage-sama, what do we do next?" Rosa didn't hesitate at all.
Our time is tight, so let's go directly to meet this Miko of the land of demons.
Inside the palace of the land of demons. In the night, because of a bizarre dream, Moroku, the Miko of the land of demons with golden hair, woke up in shock. Her unusual behavior naturally awakened the maids waiting outside.
Moroku-sama. Don't worry, I'm fine. Moroku refused the maids who wanted to come in to serve her. Instead, she sat up by herself, cold sweat dripping from her forehead, panting heavily.
Of course, she knew that it wasn't just a simple dream. As Moroku, who inherited the destiny of the successive Miko of the land of demons, she also inherited the power of the successive Miko of the land of demons.
This gave her the ability to briefly see a scene from the future. In that scene, the sealed demon, Morio, escaped. This was the scene she least wanted to see, but she knew it was real.
Because in that scene, she also saw two men. One of them, she was very familiar with, was her minister, the land of demons minister, Yomi. Although the land of demons is a small country, she still knows what is happening in the outside world. The entire ninja world is in a state of chaotic war. The wars between the land of fire, the land of lightning, and the land of earth are continuous.
If it weren't for the land of demons being in the rear and bordering the relatively stable land of wind, perhaps the land of demons would also be plunged into chaos. But it was this kind of calm that gave some people inside the land of demons ideas they shouldn't have. And the power of Morio also gave some people in the land of demons some ambitions.
The leader is Yomi. He has been constantly advocating that the land of demons should use the power of Morio to release it, and then use the power of Morio to dominate the entire ninja world. Now, from the future scene she saw, Yomi succeeded.
The seal of Morio was really broken, it's just, who is the other man? Although it was just a glimpse in the scene of that man fighting Morio made her guess that perhaps that man was not an enemy like Yomi. Unfortunately, the ability of the Miko of the land of demons to predict the future also stopped there, and she couldn't see more scenes at all.
At this point, it was difficult for Moroku to continue to fall asleep. It's better to go outside for some fresh air. Thinking of this, she adjusted her emotions and called out, "Someone." The door of the palace was opened, and Moroku looked up and was stunned. Because the person who came in was not the maid beside her, but a beautiful little girl with red hair whom she had never met. "You are the Miko of the land of demons." At this time, Moroku knew that something was wrong no matter how stupid she was. She frowned slightly and asked in a defensive posture, "Who are you? Where are my maids?" "Don't worry, they are just asleep, nothing will happen to them." "On the contrary, it is you, please get dressed, someone wants to see you."
After speaking, she looked at Moroku's pampered appearance, thought for a while, and asked coldly,
"Do you need help?" Of course, Moroku doesn't need help. Although her identity as a Miko is very noble in the land of demons, she can still dress herself.
She also cleverly didn't ask who wanted to see her. Anyway, she would see them later. Moreover, being able to approach her so easily without the guards in the city noticing also meant that the other party had the ability to kill her at will.
When Moroku put on a luxurious Miko costume and prepared to leave with the other party,
the red-haired girl suddenly said, "She is dressed, you can come in." Moroku was stunned. Before she could react, she saw a man slowly walking in from the shadows.
Moroku, who was offended by the man entering her boudoir, was about to rebuke him when she was shocked by the appearance of the man walking in. Her beautiful eyes widened, and she said incredulously, "It's you." As soon as these words came out, the two people in the room were stunned. Rosa was just about to ask how this Miko knew him when he suddenly remembered the plot and seemed to understand something, so he asked, "I heard that the Miko of your land of demons have the ability to foresee the future. Seeing the Miko's surprise at my appearance, can I judge that you have already seen me?" Foresee the future. As soon as these words came out, Hinoka in the room was surprised and looked at Moroku with some curiosity. Moroku was also extremely surprised at this time. She thought for a while and didn't deny it, saying, "That's right. I have already seen you in a dream." Moroku's confirmation made Rosa once again feel the magic of this world. Predict the future. Interesting. However, he said. Then, what did you see? At this point, Moroku didn't need to hide it, saying, "Morio was released. I saw you fighting Morio, and Yomi, our minister of the land of demons." Only these. Yes, the ability of the Miko of our land of demons to predict the future is limited, and we can only see some scenes.
I see. After getting the information he wanted, Rosa didn't hide the purpose of his visit, saying,
"First of all, let me introduce myself, Miko of the land of demons. I am the Kazekage of Sunagaker in the land of wind.
And I am here to learn about Morio. In addition, if necessary, I need you to unlock Morio's seal and release him.
However, you don't need to worry about Morio harming the world. This is Hinoka from the Uzumaki clan. Her sealing techniques are also very superb, and I have also prepared barrier techniques. He can't escape. If possible, this time I can help you completely solve this demon named Morio, so that the Miko of your land of demons can completely get rid of the destiny of sealing Morio." At this moment, Moroku's pupils shrank sharply. In a dark palace somewhere in the ghost country, a somewhat thin man in a robe was refining chakra.
He was surrounded by a purple energy with a slightly ominous aura.
Just then, footsteps and knocks came from outside. "What is it?" "Lord Yomi, a message from the palace guards. The shrine maiden has taken some strangers to the shrine where Lord Morio is sealed." Quote? The man frowned and asked coldly, "Do you know the origins of those strangers?"
"Not clear. It's their first time appearing, but they're all wearing ninja outfits, just without headbands."
"Ninjas. I understand. Summon the 5 ninja squad." "Yes." Under the night, on a mountain road behind the city, a group of people were walking slowly forward. Leading the way was naturally the shrine maiden of the ghost country, Miko. Beside her were her guards, Kamiya and Jippo, both dressed as Onmyoji. They were all looking at the group of ninjas who had suddenly appeared beside the shrine maiden with wary eyes. If Miko-sama hadn't ordered that these people were friends, they probably would have attacked already. And so, led by Miko, everyone crossed over high mountains and through narrow, dark mountain ravines. Soon, a large wooden building that looked very ancient and was built against the mountain appeared before everyone. The group walked up to it and looked up. The shrine was at least 20 or 30 meters tall, giving people a sense of great oppression, coupled with the dark environment of the surrounding ravine at night, making people feel as if they were in the land of the dead. The guards protecting this place were somewhat surprised to see Miko-sama come here so late at night. However, they did not forget their manners and immediately saluted. "Shrine maiden." Miko nodded and said, "Open the gates of the shrine. I need to go in and check the seal on Morio." At this, the guards all looked at each other, their eyes filled with doubt as they fell on Rosha and the other ninjas. Seeing this, Miko sighed and explained, "Don't worry, these ninjas are not bad people. They're here to help us." Seeing that Miko-sama had said so, the guards opened the gates of the shrine, revealing the dark world inside.
"You guys continue to guard outside. Kamiya, Jippo, and Mr. Rosha, please come in with me." "Yes." Led by Miko, the group quickly entered this dark world. Unlike the wooden structure outside, what appeared before the group was an underground palace built entirely of stone. As soon as Rosha came in, he sensed the massive natural energy and chakra mixture beneath the ground. The concentration of this energy was no less than that of the dragon vein chakra. "Looks like I came to the right place." This made him feel a little excited. Hinoka also suddenly stopped and said with a somewhat surprised look, "I can feel the huge, evil chakra below. Do you really want to go down?" To be honest, with such a huge amount of energy, I don't have much confidence. This surprised the people of the ghost country. Miko also became a little uneasy. However, now that he was here, Rosha had no reason to back down. He said firmly, "Yes, let's continue." Only then did the group continue to walk down. However, as he walked, Rosha asked Miko, "Shrine maiden, is Morio sealed here?" "Yes. It seems that the plot of the movie hasn't happened yet. Morio's body and soul haven't been sealed separately. Morio should be stronger than in the movie. But even so, so what?
If Naruto, who hasn't even activated Sage Mode, can take care of it, how strong can it be?
Not to mention, there are 2 sealing experts here now.
Then, do you know about Morio's origins? Miko was stunned and said with some shame. I'm sorry, I don't know about Morio's origins. All I know is that the mission of a shrine maidens has been to seal Morio for generations. Quote. In other words, you shrine maidens have been fighting Morio for so long, but you don't even know its origins. Miko was even more embarrassed. Seeing this, Rosha was too embarrassed to ask anything more. Just then, the group had gone down the steps and arrived at a huge underground world. An uncomfortable, dark, and evil aura permeated everywhere, and in the center of this dark world, connected by a stone bridge, a huge blue pillar of light came into everyone's view. Miko then pointed to a stone door in the center of the blue pillar of light and said, "That's where Morio is sealed." Rosha said to the 6 people behind him. "Wind Blade, Lightning Blade, Sand Lizard, Sand Eagle, you go prepare the barrier. Great Black, Stone Friend, Gravel, pay attention to protecting the others. Shrine Maiden and Hinoka, come with me."
After giving the instructions, Rosha went straight to the seal formation that sealed Morio.
Hinoka followed without hesitation. Seeing this, Miko told Kamiya and Jippo to stay here, and then followed.
Soon, the 3 of them crossed the stone bridge and arrived at the center of the shrine where Morio was sealed.
Rosha was not in a hurry to undo Morio's seal formation, but began to study the seal formation here. Then, he discovered something that made him frown slightly. Hinoka sensitively noticed Rosha's slightly furrowed brow and asked curiously,
"What's wrong? Is there something wrong?" Rosha asked.
"Do you recognize the seal formation here?" Only then did Hinoka look at the seal formation, and she was also a little surprised at first glance.
"It looks a little familiar. It seems very similar to the sealing techniques of our Uzumaki clan."
Rosha then said, "It's not just the sealing formation of your Uzumaki clan. I once went to a place called Loran, where there is also a sealing formation called the Dragon Vein Seal. Speaking of which, it's also somewhat similar to this, and, very interestingly, only the queens of Loran and their descendants, who have been passed down through generations, can use the Dragon Vein Seal."
Miko, who had followed closely, also heard this. As the shrine maiden who controlled a country, she was not a fool, and she immediately understood what Rosha meant.
"Mr. Rosha, are you saying that the seal of our ghost country, the seal of Loran, and the seal of Miss Hinoka's family may have the same origin?"
Rosha didn't answer, but he already had the answer in his heart.
"If you want to know, then I'll have to trouble you to undo Morio's seal." At this moment, Miko really hesitated, but her inner yearning to break free from fate and the future she had seen in her dreams still made her muster up the courage to say, "I understand. For the sake of the shrine maidens of the past, even if there is a glimmer of hope, even if it costs me my life, I will try." Looking at Miko's appearance as if she was about to die generously, Rosha rolled his eyes and said, "Don't worry, if it wants to hurt you, it has to see if I agree. Morio may be a terrible monster to you, but to me now, it's just a slightly troublesome monster." After speaking in Miko's relieved eyes, he said to Hinoka. Later, after Miko undoes the seal, "You don't need to do anything for the time being. Just protect Miko." "Yes. Then, I'll have to trouble you next." Miko nodded heavily, and then stretched out her arms and began to undo the seal with a sealing technique different from that of ninjas. Release. Formation. Dissolve. Instantly, the seal runes on the stone door sealing Morio fell off, and the stone door began to crack open from the middle. Boom. The massive dark purple chakra, visible to the naked eye, turned into a strong gale, pouring out in all directions. Boom. In that instant, the entire underground palace was swept by a gale, causing everyone around to instinctively shield their eyes, followed by the rampant spreading of evil chakra, and countless blood-red lights began to shine from below the sealing formation. This. What terrifying chakra! The Sand Village ninjas who were preparing the barrier were all startled by this evil chakra, cold sweat breaking out on their foreheads. Kami and Jippo, as Miko's guards, were even more terrified, watching Miko-sama in the very center with incomparable worry. As for Miko, the priestess with the destiny to seal away Morio,
She was now finally facing the nightmare in her dreams head-on, and she was even more nervous and fearful. Fortunately, at this moment, a comforting voice rang in her ears.
"Don't be afraid, I'm here." Although Rasa didn't turn his head, Miko merely looked at the broad, thick figure that was like a mountain, standing in front of her, and her rapidly beating heart gradually calmed down, and she nodded heavily.
Just then, the gale finally dissipated, and the entire underground palace returned to calm. The air was so quiet that even breathing could be heard, and everyone turned their gazes towards the stone gate at the center of the seal. As the seal was broken and the stone gate shattered, a door filled with deep purple chakra appeared before everyone.
It was clearly just a simple door, but the space inside seemed extremely vast. Looks like it's another alternate dimension. But where is Morio? Just as everyone was curious. In the silent underground palace, a hoarse voice echoed from the alternate dimension.
How nostalgic, the taste of the mortal world, who has awakened me. This voice made the hearts of those present feel a chill, and the air temperature around them seemed to drop a lot. Miko's body trembled even more, and she said with a somewhat flustered voice. "Is that Morio's voice? It should be." Rasa turned his head and gave her a reassuring look, then took 2 steps forward and stood out, saying, "It's me, are you Morio?" It was still that deep voice. Who are you?" "This is a priestess." "How strange, actually taking the initiative to undo the seal." "Hehehe. There's even the taste of that guy Hiriko." "How lively, what exactly has happened in the mortal world?" "No, that taste is."
Along with a somewhat surprised voice, the energy on the deep purple alternate dimension began to fluctuate, and 8 deep purple energies slowly wriggled out from it, transforming into 8 huge dragon heads, appearing before everyone, their eyes flashing with scarlet light, staring intently at Rasa, uttering a surprised voice.
"Impossible. To still be able to see an existence like you in this era." At this moment, Miko, who originally thought she would need to face Morio alone after it came out, looked at Morio, which completely ignored her and instead focused its gaze entirely on Rasa, and while feeling strange, she also inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief. She really didn't have much confidence in facing such a monster alone. On the contrary, this Kazekage from the Sand Village was so calm and composed in the face of such a terrifying monster. So amazing. As for Rasa, hearing the words spoken by the 8-headed monster that Morio had transformed into, he was truly intrigued.
"An existence like me, what do you mean?" The scarlet light in the eyes of Morio's 8 heads flashed, and he said in a low and angry voice.
"Heh. Ever since that monstrous woman descended upon this world 1,000 years ago, bringing the power of the 10 tails to this land, all the power in this world has been polluted by that woman's consciousness, but in your body, I can't feel it at all." "That woman?" Rasa asked thoughtfully and curiously. "Are you talking about Otsutsuki Kagaya?" At this moment, the entire underground palace was once again surging with wind and clouds, and Hinoka and Miko, who were close at hand, could clearly feel the huge change in the monster named Morio when Rasa said this name. It was fear, and also anger. "How do you know that name?" Morio's 8 heads' gazes became very dangerous, staring deeply at Rasa.
Hinoka was also obviously very curious. Who exactly was this Otsutsuki Kagaya, that she could make a demon like Morio feel fear?
Rasa didn't answer, but simply said, "Looks like I guessed right. You should have been born before Otsutsuki Kagaya descended upon this world, right?"
Quote. Morio suddenly fell silent, the gazes of the 8 heads looking at Rasa, then looking at Hinoka on the side, and then looking at Miko on the side, saying thoughtfully.
You undid my seal, it shouldn't be for my power, right?" Rasa shook his head. "No, I came here for your power, and also to help Miko-sama eliminate you." Seeing this, Miko also stood out and said with courage.
"That's right, Morio, the destiny of generations of priestesses should end this time. This time, I will completely eliminate you." "Eliminate me. Seize my power." Hearing Rasa's words and looking at Miko's innocent face, Morio didn't get angry but laughed. Ha, how laughable. This made Miko feel somewhat looked down upon. "What are you laughing at? I have been practicing sealing techniques day and night in order to seal you." Ha.
Morio laughed even more happily. Looks like you don't know anything, do you? The priestess of this generation? This made everyone stunned, and Rasa also frowned and said, "What do you mean? Ha 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 ha." This made Morio's laughter even more eerie, echoing throughout the entire underground palace. Naive priestess, what a pity, from the moment you presumptuously undid my sealing technique, your destiny has already been decided. Miko suddenly felt a sense of unease. Could it be that what Morio said was true? Did she really have something she didn't know? She could only look confusedly at Rasa, the only one she could turn to for help. Rasa stretched out his hand. Don't worry, with me here. I won't let you get hurt. However, he also felt some curiosity in his heart. After all, he had almost forgotten the plot about Morio himself, and the information that the covert ops unit could investigate was also limited. Could it be that there really was something he had overlooked? Just as Rasa said this, Morio laughed even more happily. Miko visibly became more nervous and uneasy. Looks like, the priestess of this generation, your mother not only didn't tell you the secret of the sealing technique, but also didn't tell you, don't easily trust men, ha 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 ha. Seeing this, Rasa also asked with some curiosity. Whether I am trustworthy is another matter, but I am very interested in the secret of the sealing technique that you mentioned. Seeing Rasa, whose expression hadn't changed much, Morio also became interested and said with laughter. A secret, it doesn't matter if I tell you. Saying that, the 8 heads looked at Miko. That is, ha 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 ha. Priestess, the so-called sealing technique passed down by the priestesses, its essence is just you and me becoming one. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Wang Liang's words stunned the 3 people in front of the sealing formation. Become one. The most surprised was Moroku. As a priestess, like most priestesses, her mother passed away very early. Therefore, she didn't know much about Wang Liang. What does this mean? She asked with confusion and unease in her eyes. Wang Liang appeared very generous and magnanimous as he explained. What does it mean? Ha ha ha. It's very simple, because you and I are essentially 2 bodies with 1 mind. This time, Moroku understood. Not only Moroku, but also Rasa and Hinoka on the side understood. Wang Lang's words meant that the so-called priestess and Wang Liang were actually the same person. No. Impossible. This was unacceptable for Moroku, who had always adhered to the duty of eliminating Wang Liang. Seeing Moroku's extremely denying appearance, Wang Liang said even more triumphantly. What's wrong? Can't accept it? Then, let me tell you, thousands of years ago, there was no such thing as Wang Liang in this world, only priestesses. It's just that the priestess's power was too strong. In order not to misuse this power, the priestess divided her heart into 2. Over time, there were 2 different identities and names, priestess and Wang Liang. Therefore, you can't eliminate me at all. Our destiny will be entangled like this until the day you devour me, or I devour you, ha ha ha. At this moment, Moroku's pupils shrank, and her entire worldview seemed to be impacted. How is that possible? You must be lying to me, right? No, Priestess Sama, Wang Liang is not lying to you. A sudden voice rang out from behind Moroku. It wasn't Wang Liang, but Huang Quan, the minister of the land of demons, who walked over with 5 strangely faced attendants. Huang Quan. Moroku was also shocked. Huang Quan glanced at Rasa with a gloomy expression. A ninja from Sunagakur. Then, he looked at the escaped Wang Liang with admiring eyes, and then looked at the incredulous Moroku and said. I'm sorry, Moroku-sama. At that time, you were still young. The priestess Sama was worried that you wouldn't be able to accept all of this, so she told me everything and asked me to tell you when you grew up. However, I didn't expect that the priestess Sama would trust a ninja from another village so much and directly lifted the seal of Wang Liang Sama. This saved me some effort. Huang Quan's words could be said to have verified what Wang Liang said. This directly struck Moroku, causing her body to tremble. She retreated in disbelief until she fell into a broad chest. She looked back in panic and saw Rasa's calm eyes. Don't worry, since I promised that I won't let you get hurt, I will definitely do what I say. Hinoka, take care of Moroku. At this time, Hinoka was also a little surprised, but she still obediently came to Rasa's side and took the somewhat flustered Moroku from his arms.
Looking at Moroku's frightened and uneasy eyes, Hinoka thought for a while and comforted her. Don't worry, Moroku. Although this guy is a bit arrogant, he can definitely do what he says.
At this time, Huang Quan had already come to Wang Liang with an excited look and knelt down on one knee, saying,
That's great, Wang Liang-sama, I can finally see you. Looking at Huang Quan in front of him, Wang Liang asked with a questioning tone. Who are you? My name is Huang Quan, Wang Liang-sama. I am your loyal believer. I learned about your existence from the ancient books of the land of demons. I also know about the kingdom you established thousands of years ago. I am here to help you rebuild your kingdom from thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, after a moment of contemplation, Wang Liang rejected Huang Quan without hesitation. No. This stunned Huang Quan. Why? Why? Because you are too weak. Now that my seal has been lifted, I can rule this land by myself. Why do I still need you?
This made Huang Quan not know what to do for a while. He originally planned to become a believer of Wang Liang by virtue of his merit in lifting the seal. But he didn't expect Moroku to lift the seal himself, disrupting his plan. Just as Huang Quan was thinking about what new excuse to use, Rasa, who had roughly understood Wang Lang's so-called secret, sneered in disdain when he heard this. Another frog in the well who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and wants to unify the ninja world. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted the attention of Huang Quan and Wang Liang. Huang Quan immediately found an opportunity, stood up, and looked at Rasa with a gloomy gaze and said, A ninja from Sanagakure, are you underestimating Wang Liang-sama's power? Huang Quan was thinking of provoking Wang Liang and Rasa in order to gain Wang Lang's recognition. However, he didn't expect Rasa to be so direct. That's right, just a mere demon. Yet it dares to dream of unifying the ninja world. It's really ridiculous. Huang Quan was stunned at first, and then overjoyed. Wang Liang's tone became completely low, and he asked, exuding evil power all over his body. Human, do you know what you are saying? Rasa said without any fear. Of course, and if I guessed correctly, at least you were sealed here. It shouldn't be voluntary, right? Wang Lang's body trembled, and he asked with a Morahan tone. What are you saying? At this moment, everyone felt that something was wrong with Wang Liang, and even Huang Quan's expression changed slightly. Rasa said without giving any face. Let me guess, the one who sealed you here was the Sage of Six Paths. Exclamation mark. As soon as this name came out, the entire underground palace surged again. Deep purple chakra overflowed from Wang Liang's body like sparks, stirring up gusts of wind, causing everyone to cover their faces in horror. Bastard, bastard. Wang Liang's resentful voice kept ringing. This was enough for everyone to understand that Rasa was right. Wang Liang was indeed sealed here by the Sage of Six Paths. Hinoka, who was comforting Moroku, also changed her expression, because as a member of the Uzumaki clan, she was no stranger to this name, but she had always thought that it was just a myth and legend. After roaring for a while, Wang Liang calmed down, and the 8 huge heads fell, staring at Rasa and said, Who told you? After saying that, he looked at Hinoka and asked. I understand, it's that bastard Hirazaka, right? This stunned Hinoka. She didn't even know who Hirazaka was. Rasa suddenly understood and asked, Are you talking about the god of death? As soon as these words came out, Wang Liang became even more crazy. Sure enough, it's that guy. Bastard, bastard. Hinoka was shocked. She just realized that the god of death that the Uzumaki clan had been summoning all along actually had his own name. However, Wang Liang quickly calmed down. Don't use that old guy Sage of Six Paths' name to scare me. He's hiding in the Pure Land now and won't come out at all. On the contrary, it's you, human, you have completely angered me. Oh, the information revealed in Wang Lang's words also made Rasa's eyes light up. Pure Land, huh? Wang Liang was also stunned, and then realized that he had let slip. He felt that the human in front of him was getting more and more hateful. He had always been in control at the beginning, but now he was getting more and more passive. But he didn't expect that this was just the beginning. At this time, Rasa recalled all the words Wang Liang had said just now, summarized them, and suddenly understood something and said loudly.
I understand, I said why you were so generous in explaining so much to us, so you didn't want to completely kill the priestess. Am I right? Gaara's words stunned everyone in front of the seal once more.
Of course, the most surprised were Miko and Moryu.
From the initial shock to watching Moryu's constant loss of composure, Miko's inner fear had dissipated considerably, turning into admiration for Gaara. He had actually forced a demon like Moryu to this point. Now, hearing Gaara say that Moryu didn't want to kill her made her even more astonished. As for Moryu, he had completely calmed down at this moment. Why? Why do you think that? For Gaara, Moryu's calmness was already revealing a lot. I'm just guessing. You said that the only way a shrine maiden could seal you was by choosing to fuse with you. I've investigated the history of the land of demons. Over the past millennium, there have been many ambitious individuals like this Yomi.
You've been released several times, but each time you were successfully sealed by a shrine maiden. Moreover, I've also heard a legend that the power of the land of demons shrine maidens is passed down through bloodlines, generation after generation.
So, I have a guess. You deliberately get sealed. You're not interested in rebuilding the 1,000-year kingdom at all. Your purpose in doing this is simply to devour the shrine maiden's power generation after generation, thereby strengthening yourself. And now, Miko has no descendants of her own. In order to prevent the shrine maiden's bloodline from being severed, you absolutely won't kill her. Am I right?
Silence. The entire underground palace was eerily quiet at this moment.
Everyone was staring at Gaara, Miko, and Moryu with incredulous gazes. Yomi was the most unable to accept it. Lord Moryu, this isn't true, is it?
If what Gaara said was true, then what about Yomi's plan to conquer the world?
Moryu simply didn't bother with a small fry like Yomi, and said in a chilling tone. Human, I must say, you are indeed very clever. I can now give you a choice. Become my follower, and I can bestow my power upon you. As soon as these words came out, Yomi, who had originally been looking forward to becoming a follower, was immediately dumbfounded. Gaara, on the other hand, became interested and asked, "Your power? What is your power?" "My power, you will naturally know when you become my follower." It seemed that Moryu wasn't a fool either. This made Gaara even more curious and he asked, "Then what about the ability to foresee the future that the shrine maidens inherit? Since you are of the same mind, does that mean you also possess the shrine maiden's power?" The shrine maiden's ability to foresee the future had already faintly touched upon the most powerful force in this world, the power of space-time. Sure enough, upon hearing this, Moryu's tone became low and silence, carrying a hint of resentment as he said,
"That was originally one of my powers as well, the detestable fellow." Seeing Moryu's resentful appearance, Gaara became even more expectant.
It seemed that whether it was Moryu or the shrine maiden's power, he couldn't let either of them go this time. Thinking of this, he looked at the demon in front of him with fiery eyes. Sensing Gaara's hunter-like gaze, Moryu also asked with a gloomy expression. "So, human, what is your choice?" "Sorry." Gaara's answer was very simple.
"I do want your power very much, but I have no interest in becoming a follower or anything like that." "Is that so? Then there's no other way?" Moryu's low voice sounded, as if he wasn't surprised by this. However, from the shaking of the entire underground palace, one could tell that Moryu was already extremely angry. As the tremors grew stronger and stronger, powerful chakra burst forth from the sealed stone gate like a flood. Night, in the land of demons city in the distance. The sleeping people of the land of demons were suddenly awakened by a violent tremor. "What's going on? Is it an earthquake? What are you spacing out for? Run!" "Ah, right. As the entire land shook more and more violently, the people of the land of demons ran out of their homes and into the open spaces. Everyone looked at each other in panic and confusion, not understanding what was happening. Just then, someone seemed to see something and shouted, "Look, it's the back mountain. The back mountain is collapsing." Everyone then turned their gazes over. Although there were no lights, under the illumination of the bright moon, everyone could still see what was happening. A huge mountain behind the city began to shake violently, countless huge boulders fell from above, and then the entire mountain began to crack, with huge fissures appearing. This made all the people of the land of demons shrink their pupils and turn pale. What? What on earth is going on? Just as everyone was at a loss, a scene that made them even more terrified appeared. Amidst the cracks in the mountain, accompanied by a violent roar, a huge and thick purple dragon head emerged from within, emitting a chilling hiss. Before these people could even scream, another huge head also emerged from within. Boom! 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 In this way, accompanied by the constant sound of roaring. Under the bright moonlight, a huge monster, hundreds of meters tall, with 8 dragon heads and a lower body like a giant python, covering the sky and the sun, appeared in everyone's vision. At this point, even a fool would know that something was wrong. Just then, someone finally seemed to realize something and shouted, Moryu. It's the monster Moryu that the Shrine Maiden sealed. It's bad, the demon Moryu has escaped. Everyone, run. The entire city became chaotic at once. The mountain that sealed Moryu, after Moryu completely revealed his true form, also completely disintegrated, turning into endless rolling rocks. In this stone rain, which was like a torrential downpour, Gaara controlled the gold dust cloud, sheltering Hinoka and Miko as they constantly dodged. It's truly astonishing, is Moryu's body actually so huge? At this time, the 6 members of the covert mobile unit also came to Gaara's side. Lord Kazekage, what do we do now? Moryu's true form was actually so huge, which Gaara hadn't expected. He remembered that in the plot it seemed very small. This meant that the originally prepared barrier range was not enough. However, this was not a problem. Hinoka, take Raiga and the others to prepare the barrier, and protect Miko while you're at it, leave this place. Daikoku, Sekyu, and Kakusho, you guys go and deal with the 6 people from the land of demons. I'll go and play with Moryu. As soon as the words fell, Gaara put his hands together, and the senjutsu energy in his body surged. Sage Art. Magnet Release. Shukaku Manifestation. Under the bright moonlight, another monster appeared in everyone's vision. Awoo! Under the bright moonlight, a huge moon hung high in the sky. Accompanied by several roars, 2 enormous monsters, as large as mountains, descended upon the earth. One of them was golden yellow, like a giant raccoon dog sprawling on the ground, its body as large as an iron barrel, with purple patterns spreading from its abdomen to its surroundings. Its thick limbs displayed devastating power, and its huge tail, covered with various diamond-shaped spikes, caused the earth to shake with every sway. The other was deep purple, like a giant purple serpent, its body length probably no less than 200 or 300 meters. Importantly, it had 8 huge heads, which looked very agile, raised high, spitting out snake tongues, its scarlet eyes emitting an ominous aura as it roared at the giant raccoon dog in front of it. This scene, which was beyond the comprehension of the surrounding humans, made the pupils of the Ghost Country's civilians widen as they frantically fled outwards. In the high sky, Rasa, standing atop the Shukaku avatar's head, looked at the Moryu in front of him with some amazement. This is your true form. It could only be said that this, along with Orochimaru's 8 branches technique, was the true Yamata no Orochi. At this moment, the pressure that the demonic creature Moryu exerted on Rasa had surpassed most of the opponents he had ever seen, and in terms of chakra quantity, Moryu was not inferior to the tailed beasts at all. It seemed that before the Otsutsuki clan descended upon this world, there were many powerful beings in this world. Moryu, who had fully revealed his true form, looked at the monster created by Rasa and spoke with disdain. Shukaku, just a counterfeit. Watch me destroy you. Instantly, the 5 heads on the edge of Moryu rose high, and deep purple chakra gathered in the air above the 5 heads, transforming into flames, lightning, earth, air currents, and water currents. Boom! Then came a burning fire dragon, a lightning dragon flashing with lightning, an earth dragon made of mud, a wind dragon wrapped in wind blades, and a water dragon flowing with water, all attacking the Shukaku avatar. Oh, you can even use the 5 elements ninjutsu? The former Moryu naturally could not use the 5 elements ninjutsu, but since Kagaya Otsutsuki descended and polluted some of the natural energy in his body into chakra, and then devoured the bodies of countless ambitious people, obtaining the ninshu power passed down by the Sage of 6 Paths, Moryu also learned to release ninjutsu.
Rasa was intrigued by this, but his hands were not slow at all.
Under Rasa's control, the Shukaku avatar under his feet immediately raised its arm, transforming into a huge golden shield, blocking in front of him.
Shukaku shield. Boom. The 5 elements ninjutsu immediately collided with the Shukaku shield, erupting into a huge impact. However, as the defending side, Rasa felt much more relaxed in his heart as he felt the impact transmitted from the Shukaku shield.
As expected, compared to the tailed beast ball, which forms a high-density energy ball by compressing chakra and then releases it in one breath, with high speed and destructive power, this simple ninjutsu attack was already somewhat beneath Rasa.
Although each of these ninjutsu had the power to change the terrain of an A-rank ninjutsu due to the enormous amount of chakra.
But it was still too weak. Moreover, it was not the kind of composite ninjutsu that generates the 5 elements. This kind of power was only useful to ordinary ninjas. And the current Rasa had already surpassed the level of ordinary ninjas. In that case, Rasa directly injected senjutsu energy into the Shukaku avatar under his feet, and the Shukaku avatar's power instantly became even more enormous. He directly waved his arm, and with a wave of the shield's great force, he directly knocked away Mo Ryo's 5 elements ninjutsu. Because the distance between the two monsters was originally very close, the Shukaku avatar instantly approached Mo Ryo's side. The huge shield once again slapped Mo Ryo's head like a fly swatter.
Boom. A booming sound like a morning bell and evening drum rang out. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Mo Ryo, who was caught off guard, was directly stunned by Rasa's shield. His enormous body fell to the ground, making a heaven-shattering roar, destroying the surrounding forest.
Damn it! Mo Ryo, who had finally recovered, was about to counterattack when he saw the huge body of Shukaku, like a mountain, pressing down on him.
Mo Ryo was originally very confident in his own strength.
In his opinion, apart from the monster like Otsutsuki clan and some ancient beings like him, he had no enemies on this land. But he never expected that the human ninja in front of him would give him a heavy blow right from the start. This made him even more angry. The huge body began to twist rapidly, showing incredible speed.
While dodging Shukaku's huge body, the long body began to squirm rapidly, directly climbing onto Shukaku's body, binding it in circles. The huge force directly caused the Shukaku avatar's body to make cracking sounds.
Oh, this surprised Rasa a little. It should be known that the Shukaku avatar's body, under the ability of shape transformation, was completely a large piece of iron, and its defensive power was countless times harder than ordinary stones. But such defensive power was beginning to crack under the strangulation of Mo Ryo's snake body. As expected of those ancient beings, Mo Ryo's strength was also somewhat amazing to him. Just as Rasa was surprised, Mo Ryo had already raised his head again. Chakra gathered once again, and the 5 elements ninjutsu was prepared once again. However, this time, it was no longer ordinary 5 elements ninjutsu, but a technique in which Mo Ryo mixed his own natural energy. It was a pity that Rasa's Shukaku avatar was not a real creature, so it could not feel pain, nor would its mobility be affected by the strangulation of Mo Ryo's giant snake body. On the contrary, as if nothing had happened, it stretched out its huge claws and grabbed Mo Ryo's head that was using lightning release. Before the opponent's ninjutsu could be released, the other arm, which had been transformed into a shield, had now been transformed into a large knife, slashing down towards the grabbed head. Shira, what? Mo Ryo's head, which was still releasing lightning, was instantly cut off with one strike. At the same time, the other 4 heads techniques were also released, and this time, the target was Rasa on top of Shukaku's head. Unfortunately, this attack still had no effect, because the Shukaku avatar's huge tail fell down, like a giant umbrella, blocking above Rasa's head. Boom! Although there was no lightning release, the attacks of fire release, wind release, water release, and earth release mixed and exploded, creating a huge smoke that directly filled the entire sky. The violent roar made the people of the ghost country in the distance feel their eardrums ache. And in this white smoke, a golden yellow greatsword burst out from it, slashing wildly at Mo Ryo's 8 heads. Clang clang clang. Accompanied by the sound of metal colliding together, Sparks flew in the sky. Amidst Mo Ryo's angry roar, 4 of his 8 heads were directly cut off, and coupled with the one using lightning release, 5 heads that could use ninjutsu were directly chopped off. Boom boom boom, this scene, like the descent of a god, directly made the originally frightened people of the ghost country widen their eyes and kneel on the ground with reverence. At this moment, the golden raccoon dog wielding the greatsword had become the heavenly god in their hearts who slayed the demon Mo Ryo and protected them. And Mo Ryo at this time had no choice but to give up his restraint on Shukaku, his body retreating rapidly, opening the distance from Rasa. Beneath the night, upon the vast earth. After the rampage of the 2 giant monsters, the land, once a forest, had been completely reduced to ruins. The golden form of Shukaku still stood tall, shimmering under the moonlight, wielding a golden greatsword, like a celestial being descended upon the world. Opposite Shukaku's form, Moryo was now somewhat disheveled. Of its original 8 heads, only 3 remained, and its aura suggested it was hesitant to advance, its crimson eyes warily fixed on Rasa before it. And on the ground between the 2, 5 deep purple heads lay tragically scattered. So amazing! Protected by Kamiya and Yuho, Moroku watched Rasa atop Shukaku's head with wide, bright eyes. At that moment, she could finally feel completely at ease. She had not been deceived. Rasa truly meant to protect her, and he indeed possessed such power. As guards, Kamiya and Yuho, standing watch to Moroku's left and right, were also filled with astonishment. They never imagined that Moryo, the nightmare of the entire ghost country, would appear so weak before a ninja, having 5 of its 8 heads severed shortly after the battle began. On the other side, Kido Sumiki, the ghost country's minister, and the Gosei Ninshu, battling against Suna's Jonin, Daikoku, Sakio, and Riseki, now wore unsightly expressions, with Kido Sumiki's face even displaying disbelief. How is this possible? Moryo-sama, whom he believed possessed the power to rule the entire world, was actually helpless against a mere ninja. This meant his original ambitions were utterly laughable. However, he no longer had the mind to dwell on these thoughts. Because from the murderous aura emanating from the 3 masked Sanagakure ninja before him, he was also in danger. Hiss! Upon the moonlit earth. Moryo now also watched the human before him with a somewhat grave expression. The power displayed by Rasa was somewhat beyond his expectations. This caused him to ask with some doubt. Who exactly are you? This kind of power, even among humans, you are no ordinary person? Rasa hadn't expected that, mid-battle, Moryo would actually calm down and choose to chat with him. Rasa didn't intend to hide himself, because the Shukaku no Tate, Shukaku shield, technique was too obvious. As long as someone investigated afterward, they could guess that he was the protagonist of today's events. Me? My name is Rasa, the 4th Kazekage of Sanagakure in the Land of Wind? Kage, so that's it, no wonder you possess such power. Oh, you also know about the Kage? I once devoured the previous generation's shrine maiden, and from her memories, I learned about the current state of this land. The 5 great nations, the 5 great shinobi villages, and the Kage, the outstanding individuals among the 5 great shinobi villages. So what, are you planning to surrender? As Rasa's words fell, the entire night grew silent, save for Moryo's deep voice. Surrender. That's quite arrogant. As Moryo spoke, chakra, like threads, began to gush from the necks where his heads had been severed, connecting to the earth. One by one, the severed heads tore themselves back onto their necks, and then they were seen to be restored as before. Moryo once again raised his 8 giant heads, saying in a haughty voice. Although I admit you do have some tricks, you are still too weak compared to that old geezer who once sealed me. Rasa also grew interested and asked. Are you talking about the Sage of 6 Paths? How strong is he? How strong? Ha 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 ha. Perhaps you were already a top figure in the human world, but before him, you probably couldn't even withstand a single blow. After Moryo finished speaking, he looked at Rasa's expression with some anticipation. Only to see Rasa say with an expression that showed no surprise. The Sage of 6 Paths is actually that strong, Moryo said with a somewhat complex tone. Ha 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 ha, as a descendant of that monstrous woman, the old man of the 6 Paths completely inherited the power of Otsutsuki Kagaya,
besides that, for thousands of years, he has also been constantly absorbing the power of this land through chakra. No one knows how strong he is now. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. It had to be said that Morio had finally said something that interested Rasa.
Absorbing the power of this land through chakra, what does that mean? Unfortunately, Morio didn't answer, instead saying with a gloating voice. Aren't you very smart? Can't you guess it yourself?
Rasa's emotions didn't change in the slightest, instead, he fell into thought.
For some reason, thinking of the way Morio in the Ghost Country absorbed the Shrine Maiden's power, he seemed to understand.
Which meant that, because there was no longer a divine tree, although the Sage of Six Paths had no way to absorb the life force of this world like his mother, Otsutsuki Kagaya, he could, through the power of chakra, pass it on to everyone in this world in the form of ninshu, thereby indirectly absorbing the life force of this world.
Because the power of chakra was a power that ninja obtained by extracting their own spiritual and physical energy. And ninja were nurtured and raised by the land of this world, natives of this land. The spiritual and physical energy they possessed all came from this world.
Then, through the ninshu and ninjutsu passed down by the Sage of Six Paths, these people were guided to transform the energy that originally belonged to this land into chakra. Ultimately, when these ninja died, their souls returned to the Pure Land, also bringing the chakra within them to the Pure Land. Looking at it this way, some of Rasa's previous doubts were instantly answered. No wonder the Sage of Six Paths could directly summon the souls of so many former Kage from the 5 great shinobi villages. The impure world reincarnation technique could also summon so many lackeys.
Then, there was now a crucial question. In that case, why would the Sage of Six Paths let you, such a powerful being, go? The chakra you possess is no less than that of those tailed beasts, is it not?
Morio's expression darkened, then he let out a chilling laugh and asked. Ha 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 ha, do you know why I am called a demon? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Without waiting for Rasa to answer, Morio gave the answer.
Because I never hide my greed and desire for power. But the old man of the Six Paths, like you humans, wears the word hypocrisy on his face. Although he also covets the power within me, but ha 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 ha. That old geezer, burdened with the great wool of protecting this world, cannot bring himself to sacrifice others for the sake of power, so he can only allow the fate between the Shrine Maiden and me to entangle. Rasa also immediately understood Morio's meaning. Simply put, whether sincere or feigned, in order to maintain his position in this world and the image in the hearts of many, the Sage of Six Paths had to follow certain rules in doing things and could not be as reckless as a demon like Morio. This was good news. This meant that, for the sake of so-called justice, as long as Rasa didn't do anything heinously evil, the possibility of the Sage of Six Paths taking action against him would be greatly reduced. Of course, entrusting one's life to the mercy of others was something Rasa would absolutely never do. Therefore, Morio's power, he had to obtain it. Since that was the case, now that the questions he wanted had been answered, it was time to get serious. Deploy the barrier. Seeing their Kazecage's hand seals, the 4 members of the covert mobile unit and Hinoka, on the ground beneath the 2 monsters, immediately formed hand seals. 4 violet flames formation, adamantine sealing chains. Under the dark night, as the hidden mobile force team of 4 and Hinoka formed hand seals. Under the moonlight, a huge purple barrier instantly appeared around the 2 giant monsters, enveloping them. At the same time, golden chains appeared behind Hinoka, flying into the barrier and transforming into mysterious curse seals, covering the 4 violet flames formation, tinging it with gold. This scene surprised not only Morio, but also Rasa. It seems Hinoka is truly on his side. She even thought of using the adamantine sealing chains to enhance the power of the 4 violet flames formation. But indeed, facing a monster like Morio, the power of the 4 violet flames formation might not be enough. Morio looked at the surrounding barrier in surprise, sensing the power within. This is the power of Hirasaka. That little human girl is from the Uzumaki clan. It seems you're sure you've got me. I'm curious, what makes you think you can take my power? I should have told you. I'm one with the priestess. As long as the priestess doesn't die, I won't disappear. Rasa calmly retorted upon hearing this. Why not get straight to the point?
You want to know why I don't have the power of Otsutsuki Kagaya in me, right? He, then, will you tell me? Mo-ryo raised its 8 heads high, its eyes filled with confidence.
Of course not, but facing such a barrier, you can still be so calm. It seems this barrier technique can't control you. So, if you want to know the answer, you better kill me, so you can learn the answer from my memories. Then so be it. Boom. Instantly, the two behemoths moved once again, both charging towards each other. After the warm-up and familiarization just now, this time both sides no longer held back, directly using their respective advantages to launch attacks against each other. The strengths and weaknesses of the Shukaku avatar and Mo-ryo are obvious. The Shukaku avatar's body is huge, with extraordinary strength and defense, excelling in brute force. Mo-ryo's snake body is slender and agile, excelling in speed. Soon, the two were entangled once again. Mo-ryo's snake body wrapped around Shukaku's body, and its 8 heads, having learned their lesson, spewed various elemental ninjutsu from different directions at Shukaku. Shukaku, with a shield in one hand and a knife in the other, defended with both hands and tail while constantly slashing at the 8 heads and Mo-ryo's body. Mo-ryo's body defense wasn't that strong, however, the massive chakra within allowed Rasa to quickly heal any damage he inflicted on Mo-ryo's body, even if he chopped off its head. As for the Shukaku avatar's body, it began to show signs of shattering under Mo-ryo's various attacks. However, Rasa didn't panic, as he was waiting for this moment. He looked at Mo-ryo, who was close at hand, his eyes slightly lowered, and his body slowly sank, completely merging with the Shukaku avatar. Mo-ryo naturally noticed this. This made him curious about what Rasa was going to do. He soon got the answer. At the moment when Rasa merged with the Shukaku avatar, the Shukaku avatar roared angrily at the sky. Almost at the same time, Mo-ryo felt the body of the Shukaku avatar he was entangled with become harder. The originally shattered body began to recover automatically. And the reason for the automatic recovery? My chakra is being absorbed. Mo-ryo was shocked. He didn't expect Rasa to have such an ability. At the same time, because Rasa's body completely merged into the Shukaku avatar, he no longer needed to defend against Mo-ryo's attacks, and his movements became more agile. Boom! As the chakra in Mo-ryo's body was constantly absorbed, Mo-ryo's body began to shrink rapidly. Crap! Before Mo-ryo could react, the prepared Shukaku avatar had already stabbed down from the sky with a knife, piercing Mo-ryo's huge snake body. As a chakra aggregate, Mo-ryo naturally wouldn't feel pain, but he still quickly released the entangled Shukaku avatar because, at the moment the golden sword in Shukaku's hand pierced his body, he felt the chakra in his body flowing away even faster. Since the opponent possessed the ability to absorb chakra, Mo-ryo, as an energy being, naturally didn't dare to engage in close combat anymore, and quickly retreated to transfer the battlefield. But how could Rasa give him such a chance? The Shukaku avatar's tail was raised high. Sage Art Boundary Release, Magnet Release, Thorn's Sealing Technique. Instantly, Shukaku's tail, composed of countless rhombus-shaped spikes, released a dense barrage of spikes, attacking Mo-ryo. Mo-ryo's body was too huge, and the space in the barrier was too small. Mo-ryo couldn't dodge at all and was directly pierced by these spikes. Shira, each spike, over a meter long, directly pierced through Mo-ryo's body and head, nailing him to the ground. Mo-ryo didn't care at first. As an energy aggregate, he could completely avoid these spikes by transforming his body into chakra. Even if these spikes had the ability to absorb chakra, it would only be a loss of a little chakra. But at the moment when he was pierced by the first spike, Mo-ryo felt something was wrong. What? The spike that pierced his body was engraved with purple patterns, causing the chakra in the area where he was pierced to lose control. As Mo-ryo, who had once been sealed by the Sage of Six Paths, knew exactly what this power was. Damn it, this is the Sage of Six Paths sealing technique. What was even more terrifying about Rasa's move was that after these spikes absorbed the chakra in the area, they began to grow rapidly like trees. The spikes, which were originally only about 1 meter long, grew into a thorny iron tree in almost a few breaths, and they were still spreading around, constantly absorbing the opponent's chakra.
This was the technique that Rasa developed through Hashirama's wood release, wood dragon technique, specially designed to deal with this type of large chakra creature. In a situation where he couldn't reveal the power of wood release, he combined the power of Sage Art boundary release, magnet release with Shukaku's curse seal and the ability of Sage Art energy to absorb chakra, creating a sealing technique.
Damn it! It was too late for Mo Ryo to realize something was wrong. As his body was pierced by countless spikes, countless thorny iron trees grew on his body, his chakra began to be absorbed rapidly, and his body became unable to move.
It seemed that Mo Ryo had been taken down by Rasa, but Rasa didn't relax his vigilance.
Because some of the abilities that Mo Ryo mentioned hadn't been displayed, and his calm demeanor in such a barrier technique proved that the opponent definitely had a backup plan. Now all Rasa had to do was push the opponent. Thinking of this, the Sage Art energy in his body continued to surge. Sage Art boundary release, magnet release, desert layer grand burial ceiling. The ground beneath the Shukaku avatar's feet quickly turned into flowing quicksand, directly rushing towards the unmoving Mo Ryo in the distance. Almost instantly, a huge golden pyramid appeared in front of everyone, and curse seals also appeared, clinging to it, completely sealing Mo Ryo.
Did he succeed? Outside the barrier, seeing this scene, Raiden asked curiously. Hinoka shook her head, because in her perception, Mo Ryo's chakra was still active. Sure enough, a wriggling sound suddenly appeared on the surface of the golden pyramid, and one after another dirt mounds bulged up. To Rasa's surprise, soldiers made of sand emerged from them, wielding weapons and shields, and charged towards the Shukaku avatar's huge body.
Seeing this scene, not only Rasa, but even Hinoka was a little dazed. What is this thing? What ability did the demon Morio use to break free from Rasa's grand burial seal?
Only Yomi, who was fighting Daikoku, understood everything when she saw this scene. This is the ghost army created by Lord Morio, as recorded in the legends. Because of the distance and the barrier, Rasa naturally couldn't hear Yomi's words.
However, this did not prevent Rasa from becoming vigilant, raising the golden greatsword in his hand high, and slashing at the densely packed sand soldiers rushing towards him. The impact of the great force directly chopped the sand soldiers at the front into dust in an instant. Then, Rasa saw a scene that made him feel a little nauseous. I saw that among these sand soldiers who were chopped away, each of them was only the size of a finger, and purple worms like maggots flew out of the soldiers' bodies and climbed directly onto the golden greatsword in Shukaku's hand. Then, Rasa saw that the golden greatsword, which he had formed by condensing gold dust, seemed to be corroded. One by one, gold dust soldiers drilled out of it.
Now Rasa completely understood. This should be one of Morio's abilities. He can actually control the sand he created with Sage Art energy through these worms.
If these worms didn't look so disgusting, it would really be a very powerful ability. And just after the golden greatsword in Shukaku's hand was corroded, more sand soldiers rushed out of the distant pyramid and came to Shukaku's huge body. Countless densely packed worms, like army ants, drilled into Shukaku's huge body. At this moment, Shukaku's body, which was as strong as gold and iron, seemed as fragile as paper in front of these tiny worms. As they drilled into it, Rasa immediately felt that he was losing control of Shukaku's form. Rasa originally wanted to use the Sage Art energy to absorb chakra to kill these worms, but compared to the speed of killing them, these worms controlled the sand very quickly, and immediately formed a protective layer around his body with the controlled sand. Moreover, judging from the direction in which these worms were moving within Shukaku's body, Morio could sense the Sage Art energy in his body, and then determine his location.
Then, for the sake of the next plan, he needed to make Morio lose his ability to sense.
In that case, I'll let you completely lose track of my location. Sage Art limit. Infinite sand dust great explosion. Along with a violent roar, Shukaku's huge body directly turned into a sky full of sand and dust and exploded, causing yellow sand to fill the entire interior of the four violet flames formation. At the same time, Sage Art limit, sand body flicker technique.
Outside the barrier, Hinoka and the Sunagaku ninjas were completely dumbfounded. They couldn't sense the sage art energy in Rasa's body in the first place, and now they had even lost their sight. Inside the barrier, Morio also completely lost track of Rasa for a while. As an ancient being, Morio can indeed sense sage art energy. He himself was conceived from sage art energy, but he became like this after being contaminated by the power of the Otsutsuki clan. But now, in the barrier filled with yellow sand, these yellow sands are exuding sage art energy, like a fog, completely making Morio lose his senses. Therefore, he did not recondense his body, but dispersed himself among the ghost army he created. In this instant, the entire barrier became quiet. Whether it was Rasa or Morio, it seemed that they had become cautious because they couldn't find each other's flaws and track each other's whereabouts. It's just that Morio didn't notice that behind him, at the location of the sand pyramid that had been scattered, those thorny iron trees that were sitting there because they had absorbed Morio's chakra were now emitting a strange light, as if something was absorbing the chakra on them. Outside the barrier, sensing the long-term eerie silence inside, Leiha, who was standing next to Hinoka, couldn't help but ask, "Miss Hinoka, what's the situation inside now?" The reason why Leiha asked this was because Hinoka was a member of the Uzumaki clan, and Hanataba, who was also a member of the Uzumaki clan, had shown a strong ability to sense. However, what he didn't know was that Hinoka's ability to sense was not as strong as Hanataba's. Hinoka rolled her eyes and said coldly, "You're asking me, who am I going to ask?" This made Leiha's face stiff, and he subconsciously thought of Lord Ebisu in the village. Speaking of which, the two of them do have similar personalities. Just then, Maruku arrived with her two guards. Looking at the huge barrier filled with yellow sand in front of her, she asked, "Miss Hinoka, how is Rasa now? Did he defeat Morio?" Hinoka's expression improved a little, she shook her head, and remembering something, she asked curiously, "Can you sense Morio?" Maruku of course knew that Hinoka would ask her this because she and Morio shared the same body. However, she shook her head with some shame and said, "No, I can only feel that Morio is still alive." Hinoka didn't say much about the fact that the priestess and Morio were actually the same person. Time passed for who knows how long, and finally there was movement in the barrier. It seems that Morio, who has lived for thousands of years, or even longer, was actually the first one to lose patience. I saw that along with the sound of fine fragments, countless worms were spat out from the mouths of the soldiers of the Ghost Legion, and gathered together to recondense into Morio's appearance. However, Morio's body was obviously much smaller at this time. His 8 heads looked around vigilantly and said, Since you're not coming out, then I don't need to continue fighting you. Anyway, the fate of humans is so short. After you die, the fate between the priestess and me will continue to be entangled." As soon as he finished speaking, his 8 heads flickered with scarlet light, and his movements paused slightly, as if waiting for something. But seeing that there was still no movement in the entire barrier, he made a low sound and opened a space gate from the barrier, and then turned back into purple chakra and poured into it frantically. Until Morio's figure completely disappeared, Rasa didn't make any movement. Outside the barrier, looking at the disappearance of the huge Morio, Miraku's face turned pale. Even the powerful Mr. Rasa can't do it. Could it be that she really can't escape from the fate of the priestess? Hinoka's delicate little face was also full of doubts at this time. Although she had spent a very short time with Rasa, the feeling that Rasa gave her was that he was very confident, as if he had everything under control, and it was impossible for him to let Morio go back like this. Leiha on the side said hesitantly, "Miss Hinoka, the demon Morio has disappeared, so can we lift the barrier?" Hinoka was also a little hesitant for a while. But just then, behind the crowd, a clear and cold voice of a mature woman rang out. "Don't worry, Mr. Rasa is fighting Morio." Everyone was shocked and subconsciously looked back, and saw in horror a girl with long green hair, wearing a white robe, and wearing a golden crown appeared behind them. Hinoka's expression was very bad at this time. It was one thing that her ability to sense couldn't sense Rasa, but now another woman appeared. Appearing behind them like this, and she didn't sense it. Era. Seeing the nervous appearance of the humans in front of her,
The girl immediately smiled and made a kind appearance and said, "Don't be nervous, I don't have any malice. Let me introduce myself, my name is Tagatsuhime. I am ordered by the White Snake Sage to look for Mr. Rasa." Hearing the words White Snake Sage, Hinoka's pupils shrank instantly. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic Audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.